UNHCR warns that the dire situation is likely to expand to other parts of the territory by the end of next month, with 500,000 people in Gaza facing catastrophic conditions. The UN's humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, has blamed the famine on 3:30.
In sports, the Sour Brieske and Stubbs shine as the Proteas beat Australia by 84 runs in the second ODI, and experienced Springbok women team named for Rugby World Cup opener. I'll have more on this at 3:30.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Bafana Bafana will host Nigeria in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Toyota Stadium on Tuesday, 9 September at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online from 70 Rand for adults and 40 Rand for children at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Get your tickets early to avoid disappointment. Come in Bafana Bafana supporter gear, ready to sing for a win. Gates will open at 3 p.m. If you are not in Bloemfontein, catch the game on SABC2. For more information, visit safa.net and at Bafana Bafana on all social media channels.
I am Baba Lobisha, the Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. The Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality has recently adopted a 21.6 billion budget for the 2025-2026 financial year. This budget, shaped by extensive public participation, prioritizes critical needs such as electricity, sanitation, roads, and water infrastructure in the fight against crime. As part of implementation of this budget, strict measures have been introduced to fast-track spending, improve accountability, and ensure that every cent delivers real impact. This is more than just a budget. It's a commitment to community-driven service delivery that will not only improve our lives, but create enabling environment for investment that will grow economy and create jobs. Together, we make our municipality work.
Luck could be on your side when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 69 million Rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 26 million Rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 43 million Rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I wonder if I will ever get to see those countries. I really wonder. That's not me talking. That's the conversation I had with my Uber driver today. You know, we were talking about different countries and of course how suddenly, and I don't know about the Western Cape, but certainly Gauteng has become very warm. So Joburg's really warm today in the last week or so of winter. And we talked about the north, the heat waves in the European summer and in the USA and the Middle East. And we talked about, New York and Dubai and Istanbul and all these other cities or countries around the world. And in that moment he said, I wonder whether I will ever get to see those places. And, in that moment, this vast divide around inequality just strikes you. That for some people, it's the most obvious thing in the world to work and to travel and to earn the wealth and travel abroad and see all the places I've just mentioned. And for some people, it is only lived by us mentioning it on the airwaves or reading about it on social media or books. And for the majority, it's not about whether I can actually get to New York or Dubai. It's whether I can actually get out of my township and into a suburb, or out of my city, let's say Joburg, and maybe, just maybe, visit Cape Town one day. Therein lies the reality of a very divided world. My name's Ashraf Garda. You are so connected to the National Pulse. Thank you for doing that. First time listener, regular, you're all welcome. 086 000 2032 to call in. Save that number. You do have your fingers on the pulse, I know that. WhatsApp 0614 104 107, and that's a 30-second voice note if you're going to do that. Otherwise, you can text and then tweet right away, hashtag the National Pulse. And by the way, while you're tweeting, I often put this out to you. What about a picture of wherever you are listening from? I mean, come on. Show us the dial, locked into SAFM, wherever you may be in the country. I know some people in the Cape will probably show a picture of them like in Georgia, out at the beach. Whichever it is you want to do, it's up to you, okay? Wherever you are, I want to know. We have lots to talk about. You heard on the news that famine in Gaza, in Palestine, it is a horrific story. And there's no other way to put it. Don't get into the politics of who's good and who's bad. In the midst of a modern-day world, an entire nation effectively being destroyed by, and in this case, an intentional famine. Well, the United Nations has declared it a famine. We'll talk about that to Yumna Al-Said coming up later on. We'll also talk about opportunities for people in real estate. And if you're in Gauteng, you'll know all about the education deadline for admissions for grades 1 and 8. We'll talk about that too. But let's talk about service delivery or not service delivery in a moment or so. We should be crossing to the KZN region because the MK Party and the African Transformation Movement, they marched to the Durban City Hall today against poor service delivery. We'll talk about that. And as we connect with them, I'll leave it open to you. Are you from KZN? Are you from that, Durban, eThekwini region? And do you find that there is poor service delivery in that region? If so, I want to hear what you think, because I want to get your personal story around that one there. And then the other point that we'll talk about later, the UN's body confirming there's famine in Gaza City. What do you understand by, when we say there's poverty, what do you understand by that? When I tell you there's famine in a country or in a region, what is it that you understand by that? This absence of food security. I want to just get your thoughts. What do you understand by it? And what is it that you feel about it as well, okay? Now, I'll take your calls as soon as you can, and we will hopefully connect to the team, certainly from the MK Party after this.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
I tell you what, you just a chance for you, a reminder for you about some of the things that we do on the show. Now, the show is hosted by myself, but of course you got Temba and you got Keys and you got Vusani that makes up the team. And then we have a separate technical person that changes every week. So today it's Phineas, right? But at different days it's somebody else. But here's the thing in terms of a production team, because we often get this conversation where a person will, suggest we speak to someone on air, and if you don't speak to that person, it's like, why didn't you speak to that person? What have you done, or why have you chosen not to? And I'll repeat what I've said very often, that in a production space on air, the presenter is the captain of the team, but the producers are the coaches. I hope you got that. The producers are the coaches. The presenters are the captains of the team. The presenter is the captain, meaning there's a lot of conversation that takes place with each other, and we consult and we make recommendations. But the final call always is with the production team. They make the call, and therefore the importance of their stature within driving a show. Well, what about the importance of Durban? We've got Mr. Nwagani in Durban. Go for it. Hello.
Mr. Ashraf, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very good. Good to talk to you. Go for it. You have a view on Durban and what's working and not.
Firstly, I'm the first time caller. I always listen to your shows from morning until I...
there we are. I'm glad you called in today. What do you want to get off your chest? Thank you.
Ashraf, if you know the city hall here in town in Durban, just in the front here, it's filthy there. People are pissing everywhere. Don't even talk about the toilets. In the corners of here in town, right there in the CBD, it's filthy. It's as if there is no municipality. But the people, municipality officials, are driving big cars, huge cars, chowing taxpayers' money. You ask yourself, where are these people? Do they do investigation? Do they have anyone that is responsible or accountable to check what is it going, especially in the toilets? Municipality workers are up and down the streets in town. Come the 25th, you'll see them in the shops around about 8 in the morning. You ask yourself, who do they report to? Do they have anyone accountable? Do they have time to knock off in the afternoon whereby they will go and do their shopping? It's just chaotic. It's just chaotic here in Durban.
Well, I mean, you know what? When you say Durban, I can say ditto to many other cities and municipalities in South Africa. And you know what? The reality is there's no excuse for that. Like, nobody can come and justify to us to say, well, this is the reason why. Because it's a complete absence of service delivery. And whether it's the enforcers on the one hand, and whether it's people who use public toilets, for example, who actually feel public toilets are their personal property and it's only for themselves and they can mess there and they can do what they want and, like, who cares? It is a culture and it's bad news.
Yeah. You go to your municipality office anywhere in the country. Yeah. You'll go there to reception. Maybe you go there, complain about electricity or your bill. You will find a receptionist there doing fingernails on WhatsApp. There's another lady in the corner having coffee and some male official talking stories. But you're there to go and get some service. You don't get that. That is the black. That is sorry to say this. That is what we got from our country, which we asked the ANC to leave this country. This is the end result that we're getting.
All right, I'm going to jump in on the black part, right? What I'm saying, what you've explained is the reality, and I think we must agree on that, right? But is it because, if you're saying is it because of the way ANC has managed itself and created a certain culture of acceptance of mediocrity and tolerance? Many may agree with you, but what is that going to do with the race of the people? Because there are many other places in the world they do things differently, but they also commit shocking acts of inhumanity to people, and they're not black.
Yes, okay, I will respond to that as well. I go to Cape Town. I've got family in Cape Town. You go anywhere there in Cape Town, especially in the city, you will see, I'm not being racist, you will see a lady there, a white lady to be precise. You go on the reception, you will be served there and there. You will be served there and there because you know why? She's he or they to do the job, not to serve his or her own interest, because these people are not accountable to us. They are accountable to the political unions because they are deployed there, not to serve the people, but they are deployed there.
Okay, well, listen, I think you've made a point, and you've certainly reflected the level of disgruntlement that many people have. And the one thing I agree with you, even from my own experience at service delivery levels, is that in these local municipal offices, there is a sense that, in fact, you are there to serve them, not they are there to serve you. There just is that sense. And if you probably heard me the other day, I was speaking about how when you go to these offices, whatever the complaints are that people have and concerns, the sense of helplessness is just very, very sad. So, Mr. Ngwane, thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Let's get to other thoughts that we've had. We spoke about, here's one about taxis, if I can get to that. Let me just see if I can do that. Wait, I think that is coming up. No, we'll do that in a moment. There's another call which we'll get to just now. Tamaha in Limpopo, go for it.
May peace be upon you, Ashraf.
Much appreciated. And to you too, right? And the people of the world.
That's what I wanted. Actually, I was supposed to have said. Ashraf, I am Tamaha Podine, the anointed savior. The anointed savior, Ashraf.
Yeah.
Actually, what's happening in Gaza is because Netanyahu and his crew, they have stood to the lies that Israel is the holy place, which is not. And they have deserted the Most High and sought refuge, actually help from England and USA, giving them arms to perform such cruelty. upon the people of the Most High.
Okay, I got that. It's a conversation, by the way. We'll talk about famine with the Al Jazeera reporter covering it from covering the Gaza region. So we'll talk about famine just now, okay? So, Tamaga, but I hear what you're saying, and you're talking about those that are supportive of what has actually happened. I'll pick out your WhatsApp comments after this.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Law and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Cello, Valencini, Debbie Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
The Bees want to impress their home crowd. They are digging deep for their first victory of the 2025-26 season. Meanwhile, the Villains are also chasing their first victory after a 0-all draw in their league opener.
Ball into Ollie Watkins and he's touched it home. Ollie Watkins breaks the record.
This is the Premier League. Witness Brentford FC and Aston Villa this Saturday, 23 August at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
I just want to pick up, on that call we had just now about just what is famine. I mean, just listen to this one, right? Famine is an extreme and widespread shortage of food that leads to mass hunger, malnutrition, and high death rates in a population. It goes beyond just poverty or food insecurity. It is a severe crisis where large groups of people cannot access enough food to survive. There's more on that. We'll talk about that just now. Let's, however, get to another issue. So if you are a parent of learners who are going to grade 1 next year or to grade 8, you have 7 days left before the deadline for applications. You've got to get it right, isn't it? Now, the Gauteng Education MEC, Matume Chilwane, gave an update earlier today on just the entire process. We picked out some important comments from him. Here's one of them, and it's an interesting one. He highlights the issues of fake addresses and fake documents.
I want to warn against fraudulent documents. I do understand that sometimes parents might have a temptation to prefer certain schools and go to certain areas and seek address, whether it's from a family friend or friend, whoever, or cousin, doesn't matter. I would urge parents to really, really desist from that. Desist, because what we have done, we have given schools the right to go and check and verify if the child stays in that particular feeder zone. So schools do have a right. So parents must not say the school came to my house or went to this house to verify if my child. Yes, they are allowed to do that because we have given them the right that they can do and can go and verify if the child actually stays in that particular house. So I'm urging parents to really avoid this temptation of fraudulent documents. Documents that we require. The first one, we require your ID, whether it's a parent or guardian's ID, passport, and the child's birth certificate or passport. Remember, our system is linked to Home Affairs. So as you punch in your ID, Home Affairs gives us feedback that yes, this person is this. It even says when you are registering, it shows you that you must fill in certain gaps, missing letters, to demonstrate that.
Okay, that's one. And let's get to another clip that from the MEC for Gauteng Education, where he made the point that you have to stick to the deadline?
Officially, we're left with around 7 days. Or 9 days, 7 to 9 days. This process began on the 24th of July and is ending on the 29th of August. So this is a very important day, 29th of August, midnight, 000 a.m. We have made sure that this process is accessible as much as possible, communicated it as much as possible, to ensure that every parent that has an interest of bringing their child to any of our public schools in Gauteng province, they are able to follow this process and have access, more importantly, to ensure that they're able to apply for their children. Hence, amongst other things, beyond being accessible online, we've opened working centers, we've opened access to all our public schools, all our over 2,200 public schools in Gauteng. We've opened access to all our district offices, and including the head office, so that parents can go there to get assistance should they have problems while they're applying. And it should be noted that after the 29th of August, no new application will be accepted. None. So parents, make sure that by the 29th of August, you have applied for your children. So far, to date, as of the 21st of August, we have received a total of 738,445 grade 1 and grade 8 applications. Of those, grade 1s are 315,865 and grade 8s are 422,580. With the few days that is left until the 29th of August for this process, I hope parents understand that it's very important that they actually utilize, especially those that have not really taken an opportunity to apply for this. And then what we're going to happen, we're going to have a deadline for document submission, which is the 9th of September, 12 noon, midday. Document submission is all those documents that are required to complete the application. So parents will have up until, or guardians will have up until the 9th of September, 2025, 12 o'clock midday to make submission of all their documents. These are important dates. 29 August, the last day to register. 9 September, the last day to submit your documentation. And these documentations should all be certified, all of them. All of them, they should be certified. Otherwise, they will not get any placement offers.
Okay, that's. I think that's very, very clear. So certainly to Gauteng parents who wish to register their children, you got a week to go, and then there a week thereafter regarding the actual documentation. But you have to meet that August 29 deadline. There's a quick call I'm going to take from Durban. No, in fact, what we'll do is we'll hold that for the moment. Let's get to some of the voice notes we've got regarding Home Affairs. Yeah.
Good day, Ashraf. This concerns the grade 8 and grade 1 learners who will probably not have placement in schools, and in particular the grade 8s who are to go to high school. It also concerns the national dialogue. I'm a qualified educator with more than 2 decades experience. I have a platform that I'm willing to offer to assist the Department of Education to help the students who do not have placement in schools. Anybody can reach out to me. I want to offer my services to help those learners until they can be placed in a school.
Well, I'll tell you what, just send us your details, right? Send us your details about that service that you wish to offer. And let's see if we can connect you in some way or the other. We need to know more about exactly what is it you're trying to do, right? Okay, still to come, we'll chat to Yumna Al-Said. She will reflect on what we just discussed. Famine in Gaza coming up just now, but right now let's get the news headlines. It's 3:30.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the ad hoc committee established to investigate allegations of threats to national security within the criminal justice system does not have jurisdiction to declassify information it received while doing its work. IEC Commissioner Judge Daya Pillay, Chairperson Masutu Mwepia, and retired KwaZulu-Natal Deputy Judge President Isaac Madondo are among the 8 candidates that have been unanimously recommended as commissioners to the National Assembly. And the UN probe says more than 500,000 people in Gaza trapped in famine, marked by starvation, destitution, and preventable deaths. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Pretoria, slow moving towards Stormfall Road. The M1 southbound in Braamfontein has a crash reported near Smith Street, and on the R59 northbound in Alberton, a crash before Swartkoppies Road. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Ashburton, a stationary truck after Market Road. On the M7, there's truck congestion reported at South Coast Road, and the M4 northbound slow moving through Umhlanga. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound in Somerset West is where a crash is reported. That's near Lawrence Street. Palmyra Road southbound in Claremont is slow moving towards Stanhope Road, and the M5 northbound slow moving towards Kuburg Interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, Jimmy, it's a big sporting weekend, and you combine between actual live matches and the drama around sport. You are wearing a Manchester United top. I should just make the point.
Yes.
Which suggests
You
what?
want to make it again? I'm a Man United fan.
Look at
proudly and loudly so, even though we didn't start the season well.
Why didn't you say desperately so?
No,
because that team's a desperate club.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, we're going to start off with cricket this hour, where South Africa claimed an 84-run win over Australia in the second ODI to take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match ODI. Lungengiri was the star of the day, taking 5 wickets for 42 in 8 overs as Australia were bowled out for 193. Early on, half centuries from Matthew Breetzke and Tristan Stubbs, who also shared an 89-run 4th wicket stand, took South Africa to a competitive total on 277, with Breetzke becoming the first player in men's ODI history to pass 50 in his first 4 ODI matches. Meanwhile, Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie believes the country has proven itself enough on the world stage to host the 2027 Cricket World Cup.
We've hosted a Soccer World Cup, but there's no country in the world that hosts any event without touch-ups also. You go to countries in the world, America now, they are busy preparing for the Soccer World Cup and the Olympics. What I must add is what's important for people to know about the Government of National Unity is that one of the KPIs that I have is that we must bring big events to South Africa. But our country, South Africa, if I have to give another name for South Africa, is Kamers Dawa, Kamers the man. Kamers the man, Kamers Dawa. South Africa always, when it is necessary for South Africa to rise to the occasion, it never fails.
Looking forward to it. I can't wait for the 2027 Cricket World Cup in the country.
That'll be nice, because look, the 2003 World Cup, oh my goodness, we messed up there, man. We would have had a top side. Yeah.
Hopefully we do better this time around. Well, in rugby, Springbok woman coach Swayze de Bruin has named an experienced side to do the job against Brazil in the Rugby World Cup opener on Sunday. Banre Dolph, Masea Samboya, Ayanda Malenga and Nell Lochner are the only 4 players in the starting lineup who have not played in the global showpiece before, while Vaina Ubisi and Nombu Mligi are the only players on the bench who are making their debut at the Rugby World Cup. Now, the remainder of the match 23 3 have already experienced the pressures of the World Cup, and it actually gets underway today. Then the Springboks have, for the second week running, been forced to make a change to the team just a day before a test against the Wallabies in Cape Town tomorrow. Veteran fullback Willie Leroux was originally picked to start, but has been withdrawn from the side. This is after picking up a niggle in training, and Apalele Fassi takes over at fullback. In football, Stellenbosch FC coach Steve Barker says that his side will have to be brave in the MTN 8 semi-final second leg against Kukune United. They're leading the tie by 2 goals after 2-0 win in the first leg last week. But Barker says that the experience in the CAF Confederation Cup has taught them to play 2-legged matches with a clean slate.
Obviously, I think we've learnt over the last season or so in these home and away ties playing in Confed is that and sometimes going away from home you have to be braver than at home just because of the importance of the away goals. So obviously that's part of us. We can't go there and expect that we can just defend our 2-0 lead. That would be unwise. I believe that we've got to be positive. We've got to take the game to Sekhukhune, and we've got to try and get an important away goal, which then I believe puts us in a really, really strong position.
Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns have won their civil case against MT Sport and former coach Pitso Mosimane. The South Gauteng High Court has ordered the defendants to pay just under 8 million rand against commission fees, plus 7% interest backdated to May 2021. Now, the case dates back to 2020 when Sundowns sought to recover money paid after Mosimane left the club only 4 months into a new 4-year contract to join Al Ahly. Elsewhere, Nottingham Forest have signed Brazilian midfielder Douglas Luiz from Juventus on an initial season-long loan with a conditional obligation to make it a permanent deal next season. The 27-year-old spent 1 season at Juve after leaving Aston Villa for a fee of around 50 million euros, which is around 1.1 billion rand on a 5-year contract. In golf, Scottie Scheffler sits second, 2 shots off the Tour Championship lead. This is after a stunning 9 under 61 from Russell Henley in the race for the FedEx Cup. Scheffler, who is bidding to become the first player to successfully defend the Tour Championship title, closed with 3 birdies in his final 4 holes, plus a vital par save at 16 to sit alone on 7 under. Then finally, in motorsport, MotoGP returns to Hungary for the first time in 33 years, presenting riders with the challenge of mastering an unfamiliar track, although Ducati gained an edge on their rivals with an unofficial test. At the start of the month, Ducati took 6 riders for the test session, and they rode Ducati commercial superbikes to sidestep rules limiting testing on the MotoGP race bike. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Absolutely, and you can wear your Man United top all day today,
What
right?
is this about people thinking that I'm a Mamelodi Sundowns fan?
So you're not?
I'm not.
Oh.
Absolutely
So they're by
not.
process of elimination, that leaves only 2 other teams left.
2?
Yeah.
There's how
Chiefs and
many?
Pirates.
There's 16 teams in the
Oh,
league.
okay. Sorry, I'm being naive. What do I know? Yeah. Okay. More sports about Mamelodi Sundowns and Man United in an hour.
The Springboks return to the pitch in search of revenge. But the Wallabies want to continue where they left off last weekend. Which green and gold between the two nations will walk away victors? This is the Rugby Championship. Witness global class rugby action. South Africa versus Australia on Saturday, 23 August at 5:10 in the afternoon. Live on SABC radio stations. All SABC radio stations are also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 5th of September.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Jan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, we should be connecting to Yumna Al Saeed from Al Jazeera about the Gaza in famine shortly. But before that, let's talk about opportunities for young people in the real estate business. Of course, we know there are so many unemployed people. They have to find different ways to, stay afloat, right? And how do they get into a space where they can get into employment and earn some money? Now, one of them is real estate. So there's a fascinating story around, people who are incubated into a program. With me is Sean Tierneson, who's the founder of Property Point. Sean, thank you for connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Hi, good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you. So perhaps let's get to the very beginning in terms of, you're in the real estate business, I gather that. What's the bottom line here? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah, so I think maybe just to kind of set some context. So Property Point has been it's been an incubator within the built environment for the past 17 years, founded by myself in 2008. And our aim is always to focus around aspects of economic inclusion. And we've done exceptionally well in terms of integrating small businesses into private sector real estate opportunities. And now we've partnered up with a couple of market players, the National Pathway Management Network Innovation Fund, the Department of Labor, who's funding this project, and administered by the IDC, but also endorsed by the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention. Our aim is to create opportunities for real estate agencies or for real estate agents, specifically in the youth sector. So if we look at the marginalized Black youth sector, opportunities within real estate has always been there, but the barriers of entry has been quite high. And part of the real estate incubator program is to break down some of those barriers.
So what would the barriers of entry be that are quite high, as you say?
Yeah, so typically in real estate, agents only work on a commission basis. So you need to be able to have financial backing for yourself, or at least some sort of a runway in terms of funding yourself in order to gain the experience, to be trained up as a real estate agent, and to be able to get your qualification. The second thing is you need to also have to fund your Fidelity Fund certificate in order to practice as a real estate agent. So typically the industry works where people are very much independently funded. And that already from an economic perspective, Ashraf, is a barrier. So what we've done is we are providing youth, so these would be candidates up to the age of 35 with an opportunity to earn a stipend as they learn the industry. So for the first, depending on which side, if you're in sales or rental, you get about 4 to 5 months of a stipend in order to cover your operational cost. We then also support in terms of tools, so a learner would get a laptop, and then also they would be able to get, we do some work readiness training for them to be able to understand the integration into the workplace. And then we also team up with some real estate brands in order to get industry specific training. And some of these elements are the runway that is needed in order to firstly create the exposure, but also give the opportunity for young people in a sector which has been quite, in a sense, guarded.
And what you're trying to do, I mean, it's very, very admirable, but how normal is that? That means, is that being done by other, real estate agencies or businesses in that space?
No, not. It has not successfully been done. We were able to, as Property Point, put together a case study to the YES program at the time, where we've been able to ensure that we create that market access and opportunity for young people to gain the experience, but also start transacting as real estate agents. And once again, this project with the various partners that we have on board gives an opportunity for number that we bring out into the market is 699 jobs to be able to be created within real estate.
So what happens after that? I mean, you speak about the incubator program. I understand there's that stipend they earn, and you made the yes connection, so I get that. But after that, if in the nature of the business of real estate is that you actually only work on commission, what happens after that?
So what happens after that, we create the enabling environment for them. So once they're able to start learning, I'll give an example. One of our first cohorts that has gone in, one of the young ladies, Portia is the name, comes from Midrand, and she has had no experience in real estate, but within the first month of the program, she was able to already add 3 listings to a name. So what happens within real estate, it gives you an opportunity to really create momentum in terms of your commission earning potential that goes beyond what your stipend would be. And that's how we want to create sustainability from an income perspective, but also support them as independent agents to become entrepreneurial in this environment. So you have an opportunity to build your profile, build the marketing credibility, start adding real estate stock in the market. Once you have the tools of the trade, your ability to transact becomes quite successful.
What about, the longer term issue in terms of, we have this issue of unemployment in our country, but can people then make a successful career in real estate? I'm talking about with longevity, where they say, hold it, this is the first choice career. I can earn some decent money. I can thrive for myself and my family in that space.
I think definitely, Ashraf. I mean, it only takes everyone for us that's kind of riding around the streets, that's seeing these billboards of agents that's been out there for years on end. Especially real estate is a business where you build up the trust within the market that you are operating in. And if we are able to create that runway for new entrants like these youth that will be coming through, you can set yourself up in terms of a long-term economic activity. There's always the transactions between buyers and sellers is something that has been continuous even during maybe, for instance, downtimes in the economy, but also when the uptimes are there. We are in a market at the moment where the interest rates are lower than normal. That creates an economic buzz around the exchange of real estate, and that creates an opportunity for new entrants to be able to play within those markets.
Okay, let's get back to the very beginning about those new entrants. You talk about the individuals will be part of this incubation program. So you talked about 600 people or so. Is that now closed? Can they still apply? And give me some details if people are interested.
Yes, so the program is a 3-year program. We're only within the first quarter of that 3 years. So it is a rolling opportunity for individuals to be able to apply. They can go to our website, which is propertypoint.org.za. They can follow us on all our social media channels as well. Or they can go to the Youth Mobi app or website to be able to find the opportunity. But on our website, there will be links for them to click through and load their profile in order to secure an interview. And if they are successful, we then also look at the placement into the broader industry for them.
Okay, all fascinating. Thank you for your time, Sean Tiernason. In fact, maybe just give us a website if I can direct people to, Sean, and maybe you can tweet it out as well.
Yes, it's www.propertypoint.org.za. We will also ensure that we'll send this out again on all the platforms. So we are on Instagram, we are on X, we are on LinkedIn, we're on TikTok. So Property Point is what you would need to look out for.
Okay, Property Point, making your point. Sean Tiernason, thank you for your time. I would strongly suggest you join up or get someone who needs to get the door opened up to join up. Well, what about Gaza and the famine? We'll talk about that next.
Amidst misinformation and disinformation, where can we find reliable news? Turn to radio, your trusted source for truthful updates. For over 3 decades, we've upheld integrity as a signatory to the BCCSA Broadcasting Code of Conduct. Count on us for news you can trust. Say no to fake news. Radio, keeping it real since day one. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters. Tune in, trust, and stay informed.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Well, there's been so much happening in that region, Palestine, Israel, and specifically that region called Gaza, that we tend to stay a lot with the issues of the political players on the one hand, and of course people who have died, and they've died in their thousands, right? Mainly through bombing and conflict, right? But what about people who are dying because there is no food, and intentionally so? I mean, that's been the essence of what the United Nations are saying, because the UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, which is called IPC, have now confirmed that there's a famine in Gaza. It's the fifth time in the past 14 years that a famine has been determined by the IPC, and the human rights chief at the UN said, Volker Turk, has warned that in this case deaths from starvation could amount to a war crime. Let's understand just how grave this famine really is, if ever a famine can be less than grave, with Yumna Al-Sayed, the Gaza Strip correspondent for Al Jazeera. Yumna, appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you for having me again on your show.
Much appreciated. Let's first talk about this pronouncement by a UN agency that one part of Gaza is now famine-stricken. What does that mean? How would you interpret that?
Well, first of all, it's been 2 years now that this genocide is still ongoing, and aid has been completely blocked for months and months now. We're almost 6 months into full aid being blocked. Even when recently, the past month, aid was allowed to enter, it was a drop in the ocean. What Israel usually does is that it manipulates the minds of the public and people and international community when it says that it's going to allow airdropping, for example, aid to be airdropped in Gaza. Well, Israel knows that no matter how much operations of humanitarian airdrop aid is going to be conducted in Gaza, it's not going to be amounting to any even the essential necessities that are needed in Gaza, because the numbers, when you calculate 300 tons of aid that's airdropped, that's equal to 2 to 3 trucks entering through the border, which is honestly nothing. But when people who do not understand the reality of this, Ashraf, and they hear, 300 tons of aid have been dropped in Gaza, they think that Gaza is now sinking in aid. Right? But the reality is completely different. That's 2 to 3 trucks of aid, which is not even barely enough for anything. A lot of basic necessities are not available and they're not entering. And this famine that now, after 2 years, it has taken 2 years for United Nations organizations on the ground in Gaza to reach to the point where they have declared a famine in Gaza. After 2 years, it means that this IPC phase that you were talking about at the beginning of the episode means that Gaza now has reached phase 5, where people are dying of famine. They are dying of starvation. These past 6 months, children were literally dying day after day of this starvation and malnutrition. Now, this famine is not what has driven this UN backed organization to put a report saying that there is no doubt a famine in Gaza. It's because of the accelerating pace of people, children, pregnant women, children who are born malnutritioned and premature because of the ongoing starvation. And this famine, it's a man-made famine. It's not because of a human disaster, a natural disaster. It's a man-made catastrophe that can stop immediately.
So
Next
if it's a man-made, I mean, not if it is. I mean, I think we all know what has happened there, and there's been attempts to, bring aid to that region that's been effectively prevented from doing so. So we know all of that. But how significant is it that now this UN-backed organization IPC has declared a famine? That means what I'm trying to say. It was a famine yesterday without it being declared. But the fact that a UN aid agency can actually say that it's a famine, what health and political clout does that pronouncement have?
Well, I think that this, for sure, the international community knew all over the world, because they are in contact with UN organizations on the ground in Gaza, and they know the reality of the situation, even if they do not say it out loud. They do not. They know for sure, even if they choose not to acknowledge it. They know the reality of the situation in Gaza. This just puts them in the zone where there is some kind of, let's say, this can be a case taken to court, because now it has been proven on the ground. This means that no country can come out and say or be driven by Israeli claims, allegations, and propaganda that there is no famine in Gaza. There is no starvation and famine in Gaza. So this is just another proof that they cannot continue looking away, disregarding all the realities and facts that are on the ground happening in Gaza.
So, I mean, there's two parts to it. One is the political argument, if I can call it that, and the other is the issue of the human lives, right? So, politically, the fact that the human rights chief, Volker Turk, making the point, as you just alluded to, that in this case here, a country, in this case Israel, could be then charged with a war crime because of this very deliberate starvation of an entire people, right? That's the one part of it. The second part of it is, in the light of what we know, I mean, how can the people be rescued? What needs to happen now?
Very easily, Ashraf. If the international community chooses to rescue the people of Gaza, they will. By today, they can do that. It's very easy. If they open the crossings and they enter or they allow for the unrestricted delivery of food, water, and medicine and fuel into Gaza, basic necessities. I'm not talking about weapons. I'm not talking about anything that's illegal. We're talking about basic necessities.
Oh, I think we've just lost our guest through just a bad network. Pity on that one there. If we can get it back, we will. But we've got about 2-3 minutes before the news. Yumna Al-Sayed talking to me. And it's an important point. Maybe you can just give me your thoughts on that one there. So, in fact, we do have Yumna Al-Sayed back on. Yumna, you're there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
yes,
we were
I'm
saying,
there.
you were saying it can end immediately if what happens?
If the crossings are opened immediately and there is an unrestricted delivery of aid into Gaza, food, water, medication, and fuel. This is what Gaza needs to survive. And here we are talking about the basic necessities of life for any human being in the world. These children who are suffering of acute malnutrition and are on the verge of dying. When we say on the verge of collapse, maybe people don't understand that this collapse that we're talking about is actually dying, losing their lives. Their lives can be saved if these basic necessities enter, just food, water, and fuel for the hospitals, and some medication for the treatment of thousands and thousands of patients across the Strip. It's not the fact that a ceasefire for the delivery of aid to these families who are suffering for 2 years now. These are all very easy things that can be and could be implemented without any doubt, without having to keep them waiting for longer.
All right. Now we're on to news time, so very quick answer to this here, and then we'll say our goodbyes. One is the the allegation that, in fact, a lot of the aid that was getting into Gaza was, in fact, let's call it hijacked by representatives from Hamas who then destroyed the foods. That's the one part. And the second part is the issue of a ceasefire. How possible is it? I mean, every day we hear a story, the latest one a few days ago, of Hamas accepting a ceasefire and then not so. I don't know. You got about maybe a minute to answer all of that in one go. What happens next?
So, first of all, about the aid that's being looted, I have heard and I've read and I've been into interviews with a lot of UN and humanitarian aid organizations on the ground in Gaza, saying that there is no proof on the ground that any of Hamas members are actually looting the aid. On the other hand, what's being completely ignored is the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel himself, admitted that they have, or Israel has, weaponized and supported groups in Gaza to loot the humanitarian aid and to represent a picture in front, or to reflect a picture in front of the international community that this was an action committed by Hamas to continue blocking aid. This fact is a reality on the ground with reports and investigations that is being completely disregarded and ignored. And it's being chosen to be ignored in Western media. Okay. The second thing, for such a long time, negotiation after negotiation, deal after deal, Israel has always chosen not to go on and not to implement a ceasefire deal after all the mediators, whether it's Egypt, Qatar, or the United States, saying over and over that all the conditions that Israel has put have always been proven by Hamas.
Okay.
Even when Hamas had some restrictions about the ongoing or the resuming of the war after the 60 days of ceasefire, that restriction now has been dropped by Hamas. Now, Netanyahu hasn't yet even approved for this final agreement.
All right.
This just shows, Ashraf, that again, it has always been about the political survivor of Netanyahu and not about the hostages, not about Hamas, and not about anything else.
Which many have said before. Yumna Al-Said, appreciate your time. Al Jazeera Gaza Strip correspondent, spent lots of time working in that region before she moved to Cairo, I think at that time, because being unsafe on the one side of that line, right? Well, that's it. Slightly delayed news, of course. Here's on the Alambana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, men hunt for suspects following a shooting in Mpumalanga, and report confirms famine has hit Gaza City. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. 3 people have been shot and killed at Mkutlu in Mpumalanga. 2 of the victims died on the scene after the car they were travelling in was riddled with bullets. The 3rd victim succumbed to his gunshot injuries at a local hospital. Provincial Police spokesperson Donald Mdluli.
There were a lot of cartridges that were collected from the scene. The motive for the killing is unknown at this stage, and police have since launched a manhunt for the suspect. The victims have not yet been identified. However, the detectives are busy with that task, trying to locate their family.
The ad hoc committee established to investigate allegations of threats to national security within the criminal justice system does not have jurisdiction to declassify information it received while doing its work. This is according to the submissions of the ANC. The committee was set up to probe allegations made by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi that some of the senior police personnel have colluded with criminal syndicates. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has since been placed on special leave. ANC MP Khusela Sangoni.
Our recommendation is that in the terms of reference, we can continue to say there that we will align with Parliament's protocol on the handling of classified information, which arises within the environment of Parliament, but we would need to then engage with other state organs, whether it is the SAPS, whether it is any other intelligence service that we believe can make a decision on whether to reclassify their information for us to engage with. But at this point, we just simply do not have the authority to do so.
IEC Commissioner Judge Daya Pillay, Chairperson Musutu Mwepia, and retired KwaZulu-Natal Deputy Judge President Isaac Madondo are among the 8 candidates that have been unanimously recommended as commissioners to the National Assembly. If approved, they would fill vacancies in the Electoral Commission. A panel led by Chief Justice Mandi Sabaya interviewed candidates. This comes as the IEC prepares for the 2026 local government elections. Wits School of Governance Professor Alex van den Heever says South Africans need to take action to end the high level of corruption and financial mismanagement in government. He was speaking at a symposium in remembrance of whistleblower and former Gauteng Health senior official Babita Deokaran in Johannesburg. Tomorrow will mark 4 years since Deokaran was gunned down outside her Johannesburg home. At the time of her murder, she had flagged a multi-million rand fraud tender at Tembisa Hospital. Professor van den Heever says corruption filters from the top to bottom.
We've allowed people to establish very rapidly networks of extraction at the top of these systems, which can close down anything anywhere in the system, so the laws don't apply. And we have to recognize that this is going to continue to exist, because this silence that we have in terms of the prosecution and the disciplinary actions, the minimal and the maximal, tells the story. It's the hidden fingerprint of what's going on in the system.
A UN probe says more than 500,000 people in Gaza are trapped in famine, marked by starvation, destitution and preventable deaths. That's the finding of the latest UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase Classification analysis. Famine is expected to spread from North Gaza to regions in the south. UN agencies, including the World Food Programme, UNICEF, the World Health Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization, have again highlighted the urgency of an immediate and full-scale humanitarian response. UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Tom Fletcher.
Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine, the Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land. It is a famine that hits the most vulnerable first, each with a name, each with a story, that strips people of dignity before it strips them of life.
Fletcher says it's a moment of collective shame for the international community that has watched the famine develop in real time.
It is a famine in 2025, a 21st century famine, watched over by drones and the most advanced military technology in history. It is a famine openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war. It is a famine on all of our watch. Everyone owns this. The Gaza famine is the world's famine. It is a famine that asks, but what did you do? A famine that will and must haunt us all.
Recapping the top story, 3 people have been shot and killed at Mkutlu in Mpumalanga. 2 of the victims died on the scene after the car they were travelling in was riddled with bullets. I'm Mondela Mbona, First FM News headlines at 4:30.
Coming up in sports, the Sawa Walaza and Leotlela set for Diamond League showdown in Brussels tonight, and Newlands to host SA20 Season 4 final. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Midrand slow moving towards New Road, the M1 southbound slow moving towards Crown Interchange, and the N3 northbound in Bedfordview queuing on the link to the N12 East at Gululi's Interchange. In KZN, the M4 northbound has a crash near Virginia Airport, and on the M7, track congestion reported at South Coast Road. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving on Plattekloof Hill, the N2 outbound is slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, and at the Airport Approach Road westbound, a crash reported before the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Let us celebrate #Izinja Zegame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday, 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Let's rewind 6 years, when Twitter was still Twitter, not a letter of the alphabet. TikTok was simply the sound your clock made. And Zoom just meant enlarging a picture. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So we started the show by saying we're going to cross to KZN for the protest against the lack of service delivery in that province. We'll do that story now at 4:20, so that comes up shortly, right? But let's talk about this, and it's a horrific story. A man who went on a stabbing frenzy. You got that? A stabbing frenzy. Killing his ex-girlfriend and then wounding his new partner. That's what he did, or you could say alleged. Then confessed to what he did on a video which was posted, I understand, on TikTok or other social media forms as well. Well, that person's been arrested. Let's find out more about the story with Brigadier Atlenda Mate, the SAPS national spokesperson. Atlenda, as always, good to connect with you on the National Pulse.
A very good afternoon to you and to your listeners.
Thank you. I don't like the story, but it is a story that has to be shared, right?
Absolutely horrific. You're having a young man, 26 years of age, murdering his ex-girlfriend and outside a tavern. And questions arise, even from us as law enforcement, to say, where were the witnesses? Where were other people to intervene and try and save this young woman's lives? Because unfortunately, we always say that, GBVF happens mostly behind closed doors and behind people that know each other. So when it strikes, it's as if it's a shock, and police are not always there, unfortunately. So we rely on people that are always around victims or the perpetrators to assist, to intervene while they await police assistance. So unfortunately, he then proceeded to his current girlfriend and attempted to kill her as well. She luckily survived and she is in hospital. This incident happened on Thursday night, and I must say, police acted swiftly. By Friday early hours, within a few hours, this particular suspect was arrested. And for us, it's really disturbing because it's not the first incident that is captured on video where a young man kills his partner or ex-partner. We had a similar case in KZN where this suspect killed his partner and thereafter took his own life. And he also captured it on Facebook and then took his own life.
So let's go back a step. I mean, you made the point about, often these, let's call them domestic gender-based violence issues play out behind closed doors, and we never know about it until after the event. This was in a public space because, as you said, outside a tavern, and you're wondering why would nobody have been able to stop him, right? I mean, did you find out the circumstances why he could not be stopped? Meaning that, of course, he had a knife. Clearly, he was stabbing people. Whether there was one person there or two, were there security guards around, or because clearly, if there's just two other people there, how can they stop him if he's got a knife, and then their own lives are threatened as well?
Well, those are some of the elements that we're investigating to say why didn't anyone come to her rescue. But I think one issue that gives us a challenge, or it is GBVF in the country. And always you hear, where were the police? Police are not doing enough. That is one crime that police cannot police, if I can put it that way. Because in most cases, when we look at our statistics, it happens between people that know each other, that are intimately involved. It mostly happens behind closed doors. But shockingly, when such crimes are committed and when such incidents happen, you then hear from close friends and family to say, no, it had been going on for quite some time. So it says to us that we've got a society that just keeps quiet and shies away and does not report this. Because if you can report it, there are protection orders. If it happens the first time, second time, even the first time, you report it and the police will effect an arrest.
Yeah, I hear that. So let's see what comes out of your investigation. The second part, the fact that he went on social media, what did he say? Clearly I didn't see it live. What did he express?
Well, from what I've seen and what the investigators have seen is that he confesses to killing her, and then says, I killed you because of 1, 2, and 3, accusing her of certain things. And then he then posts another video apologizing to the nation and families to say, I killed her because of 1, 2, and 3, and so on. But we are saying, I think as the police take this opportunity to say, walk away, learn to walk away. Many people say if they walk away, they'll be seen as weak. Walk away, because we then find such situations where people end up killing each other. We always encourage young people, especially young people, to say there's life after a person. If you've grown until the age of 26 and then you meet someone when you're 26 and then you feel after 3 months of dating, you want to kill this person because of this and that, it is not worth it. You've survived so long without this person in your life. Surely you can proceed with your whole life without this particular person. But as the police, really, ours is not to be social workers and give people advice. Ours is to put perpetrators behind bars. And I must say, we have been doing, there is a step in the right direction. When you look at the last financial year, between the 1st of April 2024 to the 31st of March 2025, we had about 22,000 suspects across the country being arrested for GBVF-related crimes, your assault, your murder, attempted murder, and so on. And then we've also, during that period, been able to convict some of them. We had 604 GBVF perpetrators being sentenced to life imprisonment. 350 of them were sentenced to 20 years and more in prison for the crimes that they've committed. We had 735 being sentenced to between 10 and 19 years, and then we had 1,391 offenders that were sentenced between 1 to 9 years. And when you look at most of the crimes or the GBVF incidents that we're getting, Western Cape had the majority with arrests with 4,727 out of the 22,000, followed by Gauteng, 4,278 perpetrators, and KZN 3,802. So those are our GBVF hotspots where we arrested the majority of GBVF perpetrators.
Okay. So what happens next in this case?
Well, in this case, he is expected to appear in court on Monday and be formally charged with the murder of Kgaugelo, which is his ex-girlfriend, and then also be charged with the attempted murder of his current girlfriend, who is still in hospital.
Just the last thing, the fact that a person will do that, attempt to kill his ex-girlfriend, attempt to kill the boyfriend, attempt to kill his current girlfriend, all in a public space, and then go on social media and explain his story. What does that say about the mind of the person? Why I'm asking that, you made the point earlier about, your job is to enforce the law. I get that, right? But part of enforcing law is understanding the mind triggers, meaning that what triggers a person to do this? I'm tempted to think that there could be something about a bravado scenario that says you just have to do this. It's like an honor thing now, for whatever reason.
As I've indicated, I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so I wouldn't be able to answer. But as the police, we are saying, learn to walk away, report crimes to the communities out there, the friends, the families. Report such incidents before it is too late, because now we can see it's too late for Gaugelo. So report such incidents. You may remain anonymous so that we can save more lives. We can't afford to lose women and children. And actually, when you look at, I think we're having a debate not so long ago when they said, there was this debate of farm murders, and when we said, no, the real genocide in South Africa, if I can put it that way, it's the killing of women and children. We've got a serious problem. And if the community does not act timeously and appropriately, we are going to lose more women and children in this country to GBVF. So it is something that really we as a society must really take a stand on, and not only the police, because let me tell you, the police are only called after fact.
I think it's an important point that you make, right? Brigadier Athlenda Mathe, for now, thank you for your time, the spokesperson for the SAPS, and this reflecting a story of this man who killed his girlfriend, stabbed her, attempted to kill the girlfriend's boyfriend, current boyfriend, killed his ex-girlfriend, and then attempted to kill his current girlfriend, and then explain the whole thing on social media. What do you understand by the mind of that person? What do you understand by what's going on in KZN? There's a service delivery protest that took place by the MK Party. We'll find out more about it after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
After a 1-0 draw in the first leg, Masandawana chased victory in their own backyard. While defending champions, Amapagania believe nothing is as sweet as a win away from home. This is the MTN 8 second leg semi-final. Wafa wafa! Do not miss out on Mamelodi Sundowns versus Orlando Pirates this Saturday, 23 August at 2 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All, we honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right. In fact, we chatted earlier about this, that we're going to talk to the MK Party in particular, because they've been protesting together with the African Transformation Movement through the streets of the city of Durban today, up to the City Hall, against poor service delivery. So effectively an affront against the state of the province, right? So what we do have now is the ATM KZN Provincial Deputy Chair, and it's Becky Nyandu. Appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. So I take it, tell us how the protests played out today.
I think the protest went very well. It reflects the pains that the people of KwaZulu-Natal have in terms of service delivery. So we handed over our memorandum, and it was well received by the authorities at the City Hall. It went very well. People came out in their numbers. Actually, most of us in the leadership were very much surprised. But it also reflects a good partnership between ATM and Mkhonto weSizwe in terms of, ideologically speaking, because we insist on working for the poor people. So anything that hurts them in terms of service delivery, it hurts us as leadership. It went very well. The spirit is very good.
So when you say, it was well received, explain what does well received mean in the context of clearly your list of grievances, which we'll run through just now.
Yeah, the authorities, that's the eThekwini municipality, the authority that was sent out to receive the memorandum. I think they received the memorandum, they signed it, and we wanted also to say something, to which they agreed positively. They greeted the crowd, and then they promised that they were going to hand over to the Premier the grievances that we handed over to them.
What are the grievances?
The grievances, maybe the first one that comes to mind is the whole issue. When it comes to education, for instance, the NSFAS status that is going on, that we see students being thrown out because the landlords are not paid by NSFAS. That also is one of the pains we suffer together with the students. We are also looking at the problem of the potholes. Department of Transport, the roads are shabby, full of potholes. All these things, we wonder how have we arrived here, because we know that there's budget every year that is given to the roads. Actually, we are now beginning to feel that some of the roads that are not even tarred, because they come all the way from the apartheid era. For instance, as I speak to you, I'm thinking of the road, one road that comes to mind, D393 in Crowdville, Stanger. That is Dusty Road. We have now come to a conclusion that the reason why some of these roads are actually not attended to is because they provide projects for those people who want to milk money, who want to reach themselves, turning this country into a billionaire government after government of the ANC. So that is one of the grievances that we have. I think there are many. The second, maybe the third one that comes to mind also is the whole thing of the illegal immigrants that are in the country that are oftentimes linked with crime. Of course, there are criminals also who are citizens in the country, but those that are illegal and therefore cannot be traced, that is a serious problem for us, because we believe that you cannot enter the country without proper papers. You cannot enter the country in such a way that you cannot be traced if you commit crime. So if you enter the country, we are asking ourselves, how come is this? Because every inch of South Africa is meant by a ward councillor. There's not even a single ward that is not meant by a ward councillor. What is the job of the ward councillor? Because the ward councillor is the first citizen in the country who must see to it that there is no illegal immigrant. Because these illegal immigrants, they don't stay in the skies. They live with us here. They enter the wards. How come is that? And then the crime is committed, they run away without trace. Cars. Then we learn that the cars have entered other countries like Zimbabwe, like Mozambique. I can mention a lot of ills that that South Africa is faced with at the moment.
Yeah. What about the fact that you mentioned the issue of budgets? What about the fact that there's also a constrained budget? So it's one thing saying you've got so much money, and it's like telling a parent, "Oh, I saw 50,000 rands in in your account, so you got a lot of money. But you and I know that maybe 45,000 is already committed to other big expenditure already anyway. That means there's a shrunk budget because of shrinking revenues and growth in South Africa.
That's a very interesting one, because the question related to what you're asking is, how did we arrive here? I think we started off very well in 1994. Everybody fastening the belt. But then with time, people tended to learn how to play around with the fiscal, how to play around with the government, so that they could then begin to enrich themselves. That is the problem that we are faced with. We believe that in the end, what happens is even before the budget comes out, already people have their own projects lined up, projects from which they will then begin to enrich themselves. And that is the situation we are faced with. We don't have a country anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
We don't have a country.
We have a country. We have a country that is governed by billionaires, country that is governed by millionaires, people who want to enrich themselves left, right, and center. And we cannot proceed like this. It cannot be business as usual.
Okay, let's leave it at that. It cannot be business as usual. The question is, who's going to be listening? Becky Nyando, the ATM KZN Provincial Deputy Chair, they, together with the MK Party, took to the streets of, Durban, Tegrini today, delivered a memo to the City Council, Mayor in Durban, with a whole lot of grievances all around service delivery. I would think, by the way, maybe you're not protesting wherever you may be, maybe you're in Cradock in the Eastern Cape, but I have a sense that if I asked everyone to say, list your service delivery grievances in your local municipality, tell me what they are, I would think the 10 things you raise could be ditto across the length and breadth of the nation. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the ad hoc committee set up to investigate allegations of threats to national security made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has finally adopted its terms of reference. 3 people have been shot and killed at Mkhutlu, Mpumalanga. 2 of the victims died on the scene after the car they were travelling in was riddled with bullets. And Kenyan officials say 5 more bodies have been recovered from graves in the coastal Malindi region. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Groos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Weltevreden Park has a crash before 14th Avenue. The N1 southbound in Pretoria, a crash before Rigel Avenue. And on Rivonia Road in Sandton, a medical incident reported near Eaton Road that's causing some serious delays. In KZN, the M4 northbound has a crash near Virginia Airport and South Coast Road, as where truck congestion is reported in the Rosberg area, so expect delays. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow-moving towards Jan Smuts Drive, Voortrekker Road outbound slow-moving through Maitland, and Swartklip Road in Khayelitsha is closed between Steve Biko Road and Baden-Powell Drive due to protest action, and you're encouraged to use alternative routes. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, let's get to sports. And never mind, you've got a Manchester United top on, which I've said before. You are going to talk athletics.
Yes, training partners Bayanda Walaza and Gift Liotlela, both guided by coach Thabo Matibedi, are set to face each other tonight in the men's invitational 100-meter race. This is at the Diamond League meeting in Belgium. The race is scheduled for 7:53 p.m. and will feature some of the fastest sprinters in the world, including the likes of Ferdinand Omanyala and America's Brendan Hicklin. Now, Matibedi says that he's proud in seeing 2 of his athletes compete on such a big stage.
Yeah, so now you have Gift and Bayanda as a training partners, and then tomorrow they are being confirmed to run 100 meters Diamond League in Brussels. So how often do you see 2 training partners from the same coach on that level racing against each other? especially a guy like me, just people when I walk in, they don't even recognize who's this guy. What is he doing? I mean, they're going to some of the best athletes in the world. I mean, these are training partners. They train together with the same coach. So if this was PSL, it's like you are owning Kaizer Chiefs and Barrett at the same time.
Wishing them both all the best for today. Then in football, Orlando Pirates coach Abdeslam Awadu says that he's still focused on giving more players a chance to prove themselves, even though he believes the team has a core of its starting lineup. After picking up their first league win on Wednesday night against Stellenbosch FC, Wadu also says that the confident levels are high in the Bucks camp, and all they're thinking about right now is defending their Wafa Wafa title.
We had a great game in the first leg. Two important teams in the continent. I think the two teams played a fantastic football in the first leg. We finished 1-1, but in the cup games, sometimes it's a question of mental. We want to go to that game with a lot of ambitions. I think we had the qualities to go to perform, and we have to be ready for that game. We know that it will not be easy. We don't play at home, but we will try to find resources to go definitely to pass through, and we have a title to defend. Orlando Pirates were winning this cup, so we will definitely go with a lot of ambitions to defend our title, and the boys are ready to perform.
Remember, Pirates are facing Mamelodi Sundowns tomorrow in Pretoria in the second leg of the MTN 8 semi-final, and kick-off is at 3 p.m. Elsewhere, Eddie Howe has admitted that Newcastle are in a lose-lose situation over Alexander Isak, but is quite confident that the striker will be welcomed back by his teammates if he remains at St. James Park. Isak has been training away from his teammates since the start of pre-season in a bid to orchestrate a transfer from the club. On Tuesday evening, Isak put out an explosive statement regarding his transfer situation, saying that his future with the Magpies cannot continue over broken promises made by the club. In cricket, Newlands Cricket Ground in Cape Town has been confirmed as the venue for the SA20 Season 4 finale. Now, the Betway SA20 playoff stage will begin on the 21st of January and will take place across three major venues in Durban, Kingsmead, Centurion and also Johannesburg Wanderers, and tickets are set to go on sale from the 10th of October. Then South Africa clinched their second ODI against Australia by 84 runs to seal an unassailable 2-0 lead in the three-match series. After electing to bat first, the Proteas posted 277 all out in 49 overs, and they were powered by Matthew Breeske on 88 and Tristan Stubbs 74. In reply, Australia were bundled out for 193 in 37 overs, with Lungengiri being the star man, taking 5 wickets, earning him Player of the Match honours. It's South Africa's 5th consecutive ODI series win over Australia. Yep. You heard me right. Finally, in rugby, Cheetahs coach Frans Steyn has made 5 changes to his starting 15 for tomorrow's Currie Cup match against the Lions in Bloemfontein. In the back line, Clayton Blommetjies replaces James Vertain at fullback. Prince Ngabinde comes in for Bunny Brits on the right wing, and Karel Jan Coetzee is at the outside centre, with Marco Jansen van Vuren unavailable due to his sister's wedding. In the back, Frankie Dureisa takes over at tight head prop for Arnaud Coetzee, while Marco Jansen van Rensburg comes in at hooker for Louis van der Westhuizen. I'll have more on other sports in.
Tell you what you will have, like it or not, you will have your tips, right? Your predictions.
Yo, did
and
you
last
see
time
how
you
bad
were
I
poor.
did?
You were like almost relegated the last week.
Literally. The Betway Premiership 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
And then do me, no.
Oh my goodness.
I literally got all the predictions wrong.
You need to come back. Otherwise you have to keep your sports job, not the double job. All right, we'll get all of that 5:30, right? Yeah, looking forward to that. To me, thanks for that. All right.
Amakosi have a different strategy. They want to collect maximum points in the early days of the season. while reigning champions Masandawana want to sing their happy song Double Yellow. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch Mzansi's Clash of Giants, Kaizer Chiefs versus Mamelodi Sundowns, this Wednesday, 27 August at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Then on SABC radio stations at 7:30. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 100-gram Danone Nutriday Smooth Yogurt 6-pack. Buy any two for 32 Rand. Plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 4 kg Spar IQF chicken. Mixed portions for 159.99. Plus 400 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Prices valid until 24 August 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Lots of facts, lots of figures with Paswane Mpatlele from Markway Fund Managers. You've got all the news, local and global. Paswane, go for it.
Afternoon, Ashraf, and happy Friday to everyone. Yeah, the White House and the rest of the investment community continue to seek for the U.S. Fed during his Jackson Hole speech to signal for rate cuts, especially following the vision we saw reflected in the Fed minutes that was had at hawkish tilt that saw the likes of the dollar going higher, yields, even volatility reflecting some panic. And yes, the Fed Powell delivered and exactly what was required. He indicated that a possible rate cut is coming in September, reflecting on the balance of risks that have been shifting when you think of labor that remains resilient but is a danger of rising price stability in terms of tariffs impacts coming through. And this has reversed all of yesterday's panic. We saw now the dollar is lower, yields are lower, volatility is also lower. Gold prices now are rising up 0.7 at $3,365 an ounce. Oil is up 0.4 at $67.80 a barrel. We're looking at U.S. indices that are rising up 1.7% when you think of the Dow and the Nasdaq. S&P is 1.4%. In Europe, it's the same momentum, bullish. DAX CAC up 0.6, FTSE up 0.5. Locally, we're following the global trend up 0.7 as our industrials were up 1%, financials 1.8, and resource sectors down 1%. When we look at the currency space, the rand is relatively strong across the board. We're sitting at 17.51 against the dollar, 20.45 against the euro, and 23.62 against the pound.
Right, perfect. Thanks for that. We will connect, of course, on Monday, the beginning of a whole new week. What's important is we'll connect to you next.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, did I tell you? I don't think I have. I normally do. Did I tell you who's our guest coming up for the fireside chat today? Well, if I haven't told you, my apologies, but I'll tell you something. You need to be listening in to the fireside chat because I would think that we've got a fascinating chat with my guest coming up that you will not want to miss, right? And it's someone in the medical space who has done, I think, remarkable things. And I wonder if you can guess who it is. She's very linked as well to the United Nations as well, besides work in South Africa. I'll tell you about her in just a sec. Let's get to some of the voice notes right now.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Katlam Kwanas must stay away from labor issues. Salaries are decided at the bargaining council. And the people going there, the bargaining council, are unions. So he must just stick to the criminals and criminal syndicates and prepare himself for the coming inquiry. And don't start to be big-headed.
Okay. Is he overstepping his reach? I mean, that's what you're saying. Here's one about the MK party.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, MK party are the last party to can come and tell us about corruption in government. Because the very same president, their own president, is deeply involved in state capture. That's where corruption started. Even members of his own party in that parliament, they're also involved in corruption, as according to the Zondo Commission. So they mustn't come and lecture us about corruption here.
Well, listen, I mean, I hear you, and I think many people say that about the MK party. Of course, when we're doing a conversation like this, we have to take it on its own, on its merits in the moment. But your point, I think many people will say, absolutely, isn't it? Now, we spoke about school admissions. Here's one.
Ashraf, did I hear correctly the prerequisite documents or conditions for a child to be admitted at school in Johannesburg by the MEC? If you are a foreigner, passport of the parents is needed. Now, what about the illegal or undocumented foreigners? If you ask the Human Rights Commission, they will tell you that those kids can be admitted. So to me, it sounds contradictory. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I mean, that's been an oft-repeated debate in terms of what was said in terms of the law, and then the other part is that once a person's in the country, however they came here, then the child has a right to an education. But I think it's another subject we need to pick up again. We've done it before, we'll do it again sometime soon. In Bwana, in Mahikeng, go for it.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, right? What's your point?
Yeah, the Gaza family is a global failure because Israel and the USA should be facing criminals, war criminals by now, if we are serious about human rights, because we cannot sit and see the people of Gaza suffering the way they're suffering. This is because of the USA.
Well, that's something I brought up often when we talk about, and people say, well, Trump is such a good leader. I'm saying as long as a country has a veto on all things Israel and then provides the intelligence and the arms and the financial support for them to continue doing what they do, how then can one say that person's a good leader or that the government or the leadership of their country is a good country? I mean, so I hear what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah, USA never have a good leader. It's all in wars. Because the suffering of the people of Palestine is from 1948, which is over 77 years old.
Yeah, point made. Yeah. All right, yeah. I think let's move on. I think the big issue is this, and this is what others are saying. There's a tide turning in terms of how that narrative is being played out. But ultimately what has happened in the last year or so, at least more, is that there's been global players who've allowed this to continue, like turning a blind eye. And as a result, this is what we find ourselves in. So when history judges them in years to come, how will they judge them? How are these shifts taking place right now in terms of the narrative? Well, let's hear more from you. And Bwana, thank you for that. There's more voice notes.
Afternoon, Ashraf. I'm not surprised that the National Police spokesperson, that Atlanta Mati, has been awarded the award in media issues. That woman, she prepares and she's moving when she's called for an interview. I become emotional every time she reports that she knows her story. Thank you, Ashraf, and I'm proud that she's from Mafikeng, Leviticus.
Well, that's nice. I tell you what, as someone who really values champions and does champion spotting as part of my other extended work within the Champion South Africa grouping, this is exactly that. And you know what? You're not the only person who said so about just how good she is. I mean, she knows it because people have told her this publicly and on social media. And that's what you want a spokesperson to do, to come up, to be very clear in terms of what they can and can't say, but to say that with absolute clarity so that we all learn from that conversation, and Atlanta does that really, really well. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf in the civil business. When people are crying to say, bring back death penalty, there are other people who are saying death penalty is not going to solve the crisis of the country. Here is a good example. 26-year-old killed somebody, confesses, go on social media. He killed that girl with actual intention. So why is that people will say it is going to end up being imposed to people who are not wrong? This one killed with actual intention, he must also be killed. Thanks, James Johannesburg.
Okay, the line's not very clear, James, but I got the gist of what you're saying. there's more to come. And another one, I think it links again to the issue of home affairs, right?
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the team at SFM and the listener. Ashraf, I have a question that I need to ask you specifically, and the other listener can explain to me. What's happening to home affairs? That if you go, like I'm talking to the home affairs here in Cape Town, when you're going to do your ID, you need to go there 4 o'clock in the morning, stand in a queue for the whole day, and sometimes they tell you that they are offline. Only around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they tell you they are offline. So it's also something to do with foreigner there, or what's happening, because you go to home affairs to do any small job, any specific job, to do any document, to get any document, you will spend the whole day even discourage you. Tion Cape Town, or in the radio.
I can understand you being discouraged. I don't think it's a foreign issue, if that's what you're asking me. But, and their home affairs is being seriously jacked up compared to others that now got issues where you can update your passport or your ID documents at banks, so it'll shorten the queues in some places and extend them in others, which I think overall is really efficient. But at the moment, your point is what we hear every day, not just with home affairs, with others. You're in for like a long haul. You go there, you can't take half an hour off. You're there for the day. And then you never know what's going to happen next. I must tell you, it is very, very frustrating. But not just home affairs, even like, hospitals. And I said so before, like you go to local councils, municipalities, whatever. And people come there and they're sick and they have to wait, and it goes on and on. There must be other ways to do this. There must be better ways to be more efficient to the people who live in our country.
Good day, Ashraf. This concerns the grade 8 and grade 1 learners who will probably not have placement in schools, and in particular the grade 8s who are to go to high school. It also concerns the national dialogue. I'm a qualified educator with more than 2 decades experience. I have a platform that I'm willing to offer to assist the Department of Education to help the students who do not have placement in schools. Anybody can reach out to me. I want to offer my services to help those learners until they can be placed in a school.
Okay, that's something we touched on earlier. That offer is still there as well, right? There's an offer from you. Don't forget, I did tell you we have a fabulous guest coming up. Dr. Tlaleng, you know Dr. Tlaleng, of course you do. Dr. T, everybody knows Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng. Well, we'll be chatting to her as part of the Friday Fireside Chat from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You do not want to miss that.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
When you're smiling, on 19th September, wear your favorite socks to school or work and help spread smiles to children across South Africa. The sun comes shining through. Get your Socks for Smile sticker today at smilefoundation.co.za, because every sticker helps fund life-changing surgeries for children in need. Smile Foundation. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Tani Esther, or should I say the Tupperware Tani? How's business going?
Business is booming. I've been operating out of the boot of my car for 10 years, but shame, it couldn't keep up with my growing empire.
Okay, so you sold it to We Buy Cars?
Yes, quick. Sold my old one, bought a bigger one. I even sold some of my Tupperware to the friendly guy who picked up my car.
Stick to what you know best, eh, Tony?
Excuse me?
Never mind. We Buy Cars. Geared for your business, geared for you.
Luck could be on your side when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 69 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 26 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 43 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, more to come, but Dr. Tlaleng to come. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, in fact, chatting to us as part of the Friday Fireside Chat. Here's Terence from Kakama saying, Ashraf, good day. The Department of the Northern Cape should really do something on the farms. Jobs on the farms. Jobs for money is taking place. That's totally not okay. Many people need jobs, and now they must pay 500 rands just to get a job on the grape farm. Who do they pay to? You're not telling us. Who do they pay to? Here's another one. Ditto the length and breadth of the country except DA-run municipalities from Bryan in East London. You know, that's the issue that we touched on earlier on regarding, the callers we had about, certain municipalities a complete mess and others that may not be the case. Right, there's more voice notes from you.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. GPV. I don't know whose child or whose daughter needs to be buried. Then the current government then will open their eyes and change the law of South Africa, the banana law of South Africa. Government needs to change the banana law of South Africa, bring back the death penalty. That's the only solvent. This will be the only solvent, not the salt, but the solvent. This is Sylvester from Naisna.
Bring back the death penalty. The amount of times we hear that, I'm not saying you're right, but we must, there's the Constitution, there are human rights organizations, and I know what your stance is, but you do well to listen to the level of frustration from people. How frustrated must they be if they continue saying every day, never mind what the Constitution says, bring back the death penalty? How do you allay their fears? That's the big question. And it is always often enough about GBV, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. I'm not sure if you've heard the interview between General Olomisa and the radio presenter of Ukaka CFM. You see, Mr. Olomisa is just arrogant, man. We don't need leaders like that. He's old. He must just retire, stay home if he wants to be asked questions that suits him. Because once you ask something that annoys him, then he gets irritated. Then you see, for him to say the guy must go to hell, and then the presenter asked him to retract that, then here if he said go to hell too, just imagine. Mr. Olomisa, no, man. All right, thanks, Mr. Ashraf. This is Mbongo Sundisa.
Thank you. Just call me Ashraf, first name only. That's fine. As far as I heard about the go to hell comment. Yo, man, can you just imagine? This is our country.
Afternoon, Ashraf. MK is crying foul. Their leader, Jacob Zuma, is corrupt. Even if he were to be given a second chance to govern in KwaZulu-Natal, nothing good will come out of him. Aubrey here.
Okay, why do you think nothing good will come out of it? Thanks for that, Aubrey. There's another one. Let's pick that up.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon. Ashraf, I wonder if we will ever get out of this corruption and this ANC story thing, and out of this problem, the dilemma that we are in, of the country that is going down every day, where you see people having no job, where you see this kind of persecution that is going around from the people that we trust, that they could have taken us out or take us out of this horrendous thing. I wonder if we will ever be out of corruption, out of this dilemma in South Africa. We're speaking to Bulelani from Nelspruit. Thank you very much, Afra.
Thank you, Bulelani. Listen, I can just hear your sense of not even frustration, but like a sense of hopelessness, a sense of helplessness. And when people are hopeless and helpless, or they have a sense of hopelessness and they are helpless, that's really very, very sad. And the truth is, we're hearing that more and more, through the airwaves here on the National Pulse. But of course, when you engage with people on one-on-ones, wherever you may be, something has to change. I just don't know. I did say this the other day, and I'm not worried about which political parties, okay? I mean, who are the 5 South African leaders, and they could be in politics or maybe even outside of politics right now, that you sort of choose to lead this country? Don't give me one president, because that's just by the way. And it's hypothetical, but I'm talking about leadership, to provide the type of leadership that we need. Who would they be? 5.
Hi, Ashraf and the SFM listener. Ashraf, I think the only thing which is going to solve in this problem about the taxi people, the mall management, they must stop in to provide these people with the taxi rank inside there. Because when they're going on rampage, because something is just going wrong inside their head, they're shooting even wherever, whenever, they just pulling the trigger. They must just making their own plan where like they're going to park their taxis. But let me hear the Google.
Okay, there we are. Let me just tell you again. Of course, we're going to chat to Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng. She's done amazing things in the health spaces, not just in South Africa but around the world, because she's a UN special advisor into the issues of health treatment. So we'll ask her about that too, but also her thoughts on a range of stories. Besides that, like, where did she come from? Like, what is it that put her on that journey that's got her to where she is right now? All that and more. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, our Friday fireside chat. Right now it's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. National Security Probe adopts terms of reference in 3 people gunned down in Mpumalanga. Good day to you. The ad hoc committee set up to probe allegations of threats to national security made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, has finally adopted its terms of reference. The adoption will pave the way for the start of the work of the committee, including calling relevant witnesses as well as Mkhwanazi. The finalisation of the terms of reference was delayed by political differences. Committee Chairperson Mulapile Khanyan.
Can tell you, if this is the spirit, how we're going to drive proceedings, we will achieve wonders. This was very excellent. It was outstanding. The work has been done very, very brilliantly, and for that I want to thank you so much. The terms of reference for this ad hoc committee have been unanimously accepted and adopted.
3 people have been shot and killed in Mkulu and Mpumalanga. 2 of the victims died on the scene after the car they were travelling in was riddled with bullets. The 3rd victim succumbed to his gunshot wounds in hospital. Police spokesperson Donald Mludli.
There were a lot of cartridges that were collected from the scene. The motive for the killing is unknown at this stage, and police have since launched a manhunt for the suspect. The victims have not yet been identified. However, the detectives are busy with that part, trying to locate their family. However, we can indicate that the Mercedes-Benz, also they are trying to establish the owner. It's got a Gauteng registration number plate.
The DA in the Free State says the removal of 7 mayors, speakers and chief whips in 6 municipalities vindicates the DA's long-held belief that the ANC is the cause of collapse of local government in the Free State. The DA's David McKay.
The ANC's decision to remove several mayors in the Free State highlights the Democratic Alliance's long-standing criticism that the ANC is responsible for local government failures. With municipalities now leaderless amid factionalism and corruption, the ANC faces challenges in selecting competent successors. Despite these changes, a single reshuffle won't suffice. Ongoing efforts are needed to combat corruption and ensure accountability. The Free State governance remains poor, with no municipality earning a clean audit in 7 years. Residents must choose between continued failure or meaningful change in the upcoming elections.
One of the detectives in the investigation of the Lusikisiki mass murders in the Eastern Cape, Warrant Officer Nsikolelo Sambutla, has testified at the Mthatha High Court sitting in Lusikisiki about the recovery of firearms allegedly used in the shooting that claimed 18 lives. 3 AK-47 rifles, a hunting rifle, magazines and ammunition were found at one of the accused's homes in Flagstaff. That person's defence has cross-examined the warrant officer about a report from Nutgero Paya, who turned state witness, that he was tortured and forced to reveal the whereabouts of the firearms. Sambutla refuted the claims and told the court that all legal processes were followed and all accused were informed of their rights before interrogation. Kenyan officials say 5 more bodies have been recovered from graves in the coastal Malindi region. The officials believe they're connected to the more than 400 bodies found in a forest where members of a doomsday cult were found dead 2 years ago. It's believed the victims had been encouraged to starve themselves to death by Pastor Paul Mackenzie, who's been charged with murder. The BBC's Anita Nkonge reports.
A government pathologist said 10 separate body parts had been found scattered about, as well as the 5 bodies. There are 21 more grave sites expected to be exhumed. Last month, a Kenyan court had ordered the exhumation of bodies suspected to belong to people who were starved and suffocated in the same county where 400 bodies of members of the Doomsday Cult had been found 2 years ago. 11 people have been arrested in connection with the new deaths, and there are fears the starvation cult, once led by the self-proclaimed Pastor Paul Mackenzie, may still be active.
Top story, the ad hoc committee set up to probe allegations of threats to national security made by the KZN Police Commissioner has finally adopted its terms of reference. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Hoos.
In sports, Brieske and Stubbs shine as the Proteas beat Australia by 84 runs in the second ODI. Walaza and Leotlela set for Diamond League showdown in Brussels today, and experienced Springbok women team named for Rugby World Cup opener. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Centurion has a crash reported at Puerto Avenue. All lanes are open. The M1 southbound in Houghton Estate, a crash near Glenhove Road, and on Winnie Mandela Drive northbound in Bryanston, a crash at Ballycare Drive. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg, a stationary truck at Market Road, and on the M4 northbound, a crash near Virginia Airport. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound, a crash before Hospital Bend. Hindle Road has heavy traffic reported in that West Bank area, and the R304 northbound in Stellenbosch, slow moving towards Port Lorraine Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Get ready, South Africa! 12,000 athletes from every corner of the country will hit the ground running in the 5th edition of the Hollywood Bets Durban 10 Kilometer. A thrilling road race starting and finishing at Hollywood Bets Kingsmead Stadium. It's more than a race. It's all about community, good vibes, and rising to the challenge. Catch the action live on Saturday, 30th of August at 7 a.m. on SABC2, SABC Plus, and across SABC radio stations. Hashtag Let's Run and feel the energy. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The boardroom heat is on and the pressure is rising. The Insurance Apprentice, hosted by the one and only Babi Moloi, is delivering drama, tough decisions, and big personalities every week. Expect bold moves, emotional twists, and contestants you'll either root for or roast. And yes, you'll be surprised what you learn about insurance along the way. Open up to the Insurance Apprentice, Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I have no doubt we've got a legend in the house. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng will be with me for the next 45-50 minutes as part of the Friday Fireside Chat. And the good news is, you know what? You are part of it as well. You can listen in as you're doing right now, but you can engage. We take 2-3 calls, so you can call in 086 000 2032. And in doing so, it's great if you actually know the guest personally. I'm not saying it's exclusively so, but if you do know Dr. T personally, worked with her, maybe even maybe you're related, maybe you're just friends. Either way, it's just great. But you can WhatsApp too, 0614 104 107, voice note or text, or post on the Twitter or X platform, hashtag The National Pulse. So yeah, there we are. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng with me in the house. Wonderful to talk to you, and thanks for playing your part in being the guest here on the Friday Fireside Chat.
Thank you for having me over.
Thank you.
I'm quite flattered. Thanks.
Well, listen, we flattered that you said yes. Let's put it that way. So we're much appreciative of that position. I tell you what, often we ask, we ask people what they do, but maybe the best way to do it is this: if you were in a lift now, and you had like 30 seconds in that elevator, because that's how long it takes, and someone's like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. What would you answer, like in the 30 seconds that sums up exactly who you are and what you do?
I am a Black woman. I'm a medical doctor, and I work to protect and advance human rights, but specifically the right to health. And I find the best joy in building movements and connecting people across different sectors of life. And I work for people who are often made invisible by systems and by society and by structures.
Mm. And you have that privilege, because you do say you like to be part of or create movements, right? So tell me about the type of movements. You created. So you're a medical doctor, but there are many other people who are medical doctors who have a surgery, and they get on with their lives and they administer an important work. But I would think, and I'm guessing maybe 90% never get out into public spaces to try and create the type of movement and change that you talk about.
Absolutely. I came to a time in my career where I had to choose what kind of specialization I would go into. And in the clinical sense, in medicine, there's a lot that I did enjoy, but not enough to keep me space and courage in the human rights space, so to say, where I would then merge being a medical expert, a clinician, with understanding the human rights and the contexts, of illness of people, the social, political context of people. And I found that's where a lot of life happens, real life happens in that intersection. And that's where real people are, real lives get changed. And it's in understanding, or at least allowing myself to use those expertise as tools to at least advance and support people. So I work, for example, in communities with sex workers. I work with people who use drugs, for example. I work with people who require abortions. I work in various spaces of sexual and reproductive health rights, where we are using digital technology and health to promote, access in the world. Issues such as racism, for example, and structural violence keeps people from actually realizing good health outcomes. So for me, it's in that melting pot of different intersections where I find the most joy and the most creativity.
And it's interesting what you say, because, often when we talk about people studying and they say, well, you need to do the sciences, the STEM subjects, and get into the sciences and, leave the social sciences out, either or, but it's the medical sciences and maybe mathematics that is so important. You've been able to merge both of them. Were you always like that in terms of just your outlook if you go back to when you were a young child?
I was certainly always inquisitive, and it's always in retrospect, right, where one really appreciates, I suppose, the depth and gets the clarity of it. I grew up in Kwakwa, which was Bantustan at the time, during apartheid, and it's when I was around, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, when, my formative years, and I suppose my emotional maturity was also happening. The country itself was going through a transition. And so I remember on one instance being a child in apartheid South Africa, going through all of that, hearing the news, of course, of Chris Hani's murder, hearing the news of Nelson Mandela's release, and then knowing as an adult, as a young teenager, a democratic South Africa once our parents had voted. And so having to have shifted and moved, even as a young person through that kind of transition, I think for me, perhaps some of us feel a lot than others, but it was not just a phase, that didn't have any impact. It had a huge impact in my life, in how I view my own community and my own place in community. And so I've always had.
Okay, let's see if we can just try and reconnect with Dr. T. I think just that that line just collapsed in that moment with the Zoom connection. We are chatting to Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng. So, what's your one question for her? I mean, if you could just say one thing, one question you could ask of her, or make one comment in her presence, what would that be? And let me tell you how you can do that. You can call in to 086 000 2032. And if not, calling in a WhatsApp is perfect. 0614 104 107 in text or in voice note form. So you've got those options. But we do have Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng back with us, right? All right. You were speaking about your early days when the line sort of got disconnected. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I was saying that, growing up in Kwakwa in Bantustan as a child, there's a lot that, of course, one experienced during that apartheid regime, which, was quite catastrophic. If you can imagine being 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's when cognitively, emotionally, a lot is happening and maturing in one's life. And also then being a young teenager who then experiences a democratic South Africa. And I've always had a sense of belonging to community, of being held accountable by a community, but also knowing that whatever I do is a contribution to my community for better or for worse. And so I've always been very aware.
So tell me about then the actual schools that you went to and perhaps your experiences there. And maybe, and this is an important part, when did you realize growing up that you actually had the acumen to be able to deliver and become a doctor? What I'm saying is, like my grandfather always wished that I become a doctor. The best I could do was doing an advert as a doctor, if you get my point. There must have been a moment when you realized, actually, I can do this.
So there's a story that, my mom tells, and I had to test it with her to see if this is really how I experienced it as well. And growing up, we used to go to Bethlehem, which is our nearest sort of big town, to do shopping. And in the shopping in the mall, I would be in the aisles where they would be selling cotton wool and the plasters and the wound cleaners and those kinds of medical supplies, more in those aisles than I would be in the toys or the snacks aisle. And so I've always had this, I suppose, passion and desire to want to be participating in medicine. And because of the protest, I guess, the context is that we were, of course, experiencing riots a lot in Kwakwa, in Putadichaba during those years. And it meant a lot of people in my neighborhood, in my streets, were injured. So I think I was just then a child who was just responding to their environment. And so for me, what was more appealing was building a medical kit rather than spending time in the aisles in toys, in the supermarket. And my teachers in high school were very irritated with me always, because they used to say to me, Tlaleng, there are so many things you can be in life. You walked in here saying you wanted to be a doctor. We are now choosing subjects for matric. You still only wanting to be a doctor. And I said, yes, I still want to be a doctor. And I spent a lot of time at the monastery as a Catholic in Reeds with the old age home. There used to be a hospital attached to the nuns' establishment there. And in my holiday times, I also used to do that. So I think it's been a series of events, of experiences that made the medical profession and being a doctor such an appealing profession for me.
Dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, we're chatting to Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng. Dr. T, as everybody knows her, and she's my fireside chat guest for the rest of the show today, right? So, in fact, there's a caller we want to. Well, before I get to the caller, so I asked you the question. When the teachers were talking about subjects, and you still want to become a doctor, did you get a sense they were trying to talk you out of it? And I asked that question because, often if people think you can't make it because the odds are against you, but they want you to succeed anyway, then something that they know is more manageable and attainable than what you may think. Did you get that sense at all?
That's interesting, actually. I actually never thought about it that way. Perhaps, maybe, I seem maybe too audacious, perhaps. Although my grades were fine and I would get into med school, so I don't think that was maybe the problem. I think they thought maybe I was just not exposing myself enough to what the world had to offer. And I suppose, the same answer every year kind of gets boring, I guess. But I think for me, it was more that they wanted me to know that there's also more to life than just the typical doctor, accountant, engineer kind of career path. But that's actually quite interesting. Yeah.
Well, there is more to life, and that's why you do what you do, right? Let's get to some of the callers. We've got Mtobisi in Joburg. Welcome to the fireside chat on the National Pulse.
Hi, Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, good talking to you. Right, go for it. I don't think you want to talk to me. I'm sure about that.
No. The person you're speaking with will remember me when I say Sister Luciana.
Oh my gosh! Hello. Hello. Oh my gosh.
How are you?
I'm good.
I knew she was going to be a doctor the day we visited the nun, and the dog almost bit me, and she had to stitch me up.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. Oh, what a lovely surprise! Oh my goodness.
No. All the best.
Wow.
It was very nice hearing from you. I was like, I wondered what happened to Tlaleng.
So now you know.
Oh, lots.
Now I know.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's precious. Thank you so much.
It is precious, yeah. Thank you for that call.
All right.
Thank you for that call. Well, now we know about the bite, and you administered without being a doctor. I wonder how legal that is, but you did it anyway. Thank you. Thanks for helping.
When I was a child, I was such a child.
Oh,
but I was in the thick of things.
Yeah. Now let's get into other things. What's occupying your time? I mean, are you in the medical space? You're also medical human rights, but there are like key things you're involved in right now. What are they?
I mean, one of the big ones at the moment is that I'm the expert advisor to the United Nations. And the long title for the role is the UN Special Rapporteur on the right of everyone to the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. And I'm supposed to be, advising the UN, of course, on the realization of the right to health around the world with the different member states, writing different reports for them, for the General Assembly and the Human Rights Council, which I'm currently doing. And I've actually decided this year specifically to write a report on health and care workers as human rights defenders, because of the crises we're experiencing in the world, but the kinds of attacks we are seeing on healthcare workers, humanitarian workers, and health facilities in the different wars around the world, but definitely in the genocide in Gaza, and as a way to talk about how important the work that healthcare workers do, but it must be understood because of the times we live in and the ways in which war and genocide has impacted us. We must see that work as part of being human rights defenders. So we must advocate, we must organize, and we must support health and care workers to be able to do their jobs without harassment, intimidation, or being tortured, or unfortunately being killed in some of the instances. And so that's a big part of what I am doing right now that's keeping me really busy. It's that contribution to the bigger human rights community.
Well, it's such an important job. I mean, I think about your role as a rapporteur, and then maybe someone like Francesca Albanese, if I've got this name pronounced correctly. I mean, she specifically focuses on the issue of Israel-Palestine. Yours is more of a general nature. But just to have that responsibility to be this rapporteur to the United Nations, I mean, when you reflect on it, like, how big is it? Because it is big. It's the type of information you provide based upon your analysis or research is telling and has a huge impact on those regions in the world, aren't they?
Absolutely. And the ways in which the role is set up, it's by a resolution of the Human Rights Council to give us the methods of work, but also to give us the scope and the framing of the work. And it's very important that, I suppose people understand that we do the work because we are truly committed to human rights, and that the methods given to us by the UN, for example, to participate in legislative reform, to improve access to mechanism of redress, to contributing to human rights mainstreaming, raising human rights awareness, and of course, importantly, facilitating dialogue, but also preventing violations. Those are really important key elements of the work, and it's precisely because of that important mandate that we take this work so seriously, because some rights holders, human rights holders who are citizens in many countries around the world, only have access to people such as myself to actually report on any past or ongoing or potential human rights violations. So that's a very, very serious job and a task that one has. And of course, there are processes internally in the UN itself on how we then support and respond, in the main to such submissions.
And when you deliver these type of reports or submissions, right, is that contested or because of your own stature and grounding that your submission is taken as is? Because I'm looking at, and I'm suggesting that, decisions are made or are taken, policy decisions and in some cases important human rights decisions around criminality. Let's take ICC, for example, may well reflect on reports from people like yourself or Francesca Albanese or others. What I'm saying, therefore, how much currency does it have when you submit?
Oh, it has a lot, because it is, like I said, it's part of the mandated work. So those reports, when they come out, for example, in my instance, there's a lot of academic research that goes into that. There's a lot of consultations that happen that are both public and closed, consultations within particular sectors of communities, depending on the thematic issue that's being reported in that particular cycle. And so using international human rights standards and the laws, and of course the UN Charter itself as grounding and the framework for the work is really important. The analysis has to be challenging in nature, and there's a decision for me that was important because I decided to use anti-colonial and anti-racist frameworks on analyzing and understanding the right to health. So of course some member states would say, but my country isn't racist, or we've never experienced racism in my country, so what do you mean? But it was showing how broader structural discrimination and how racism replicates itself and colonialism has exported itself everywhere in the world, that whether you are formally colonized or not, there are ways in which that colonization, capitalism, and all the isms are going to affect you. And so it's bringing also that kind of new ways and innovation to the UN itself, and then providing them with that set of good practices and examples of why what you are saying works, where it hasn't worked and why it hasn't worked, and why therefore you recommend the kinds of recommendations at the end of the report, and why they should all move in unison. And there's an opportunity where they interact with you and they raise questions, and it's an interaction in that dialogue that we have with member states. And one is coming up in October this year in New York.
Okay, so that's very, very imminent. In fact, I'm going to pick your brain and allow you maybe to pick out 3 things that you really want to get off your chest, whatever it is that you just say, hey, I feel strongly about this and I want the people of the world to hear that. But I'll get you to think about it. Let's get the news headlines now. It's 5:30.
Look at the headlines. Researchers from Stellenbosch University have found the first evidence of rare compounds known for their anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties in cannabis leaves, also known as dacha. The ad hoc committee set up to probe allegations of threats to national security made by the KZN Police Commissioner has finally adopted its terms of reference. And FBI agents have been searching the home of John Bolton, President Donald Trump's former national security advisor. More on that story and other news at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R21 northbound in Pretoria has a stationary truck reported on the link to the N1 North. Allendale Road eastbound in Kloekop has a crash before Mastiff Road, and the N1 southbound slow moving towards the N17 Soweto exit. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg is where stationary truck was reported at Market Road, which subsequently has been cleared, but traffic is still slow moving. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound, a crash before Jan Smuts Drive. Baden-Powell Drive in Khayelitsha remains closed between Eisleben Road and Oscar Mpeta Road due to protesting, and Okavango Road in Brackenfell slow moving at the N1 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkgapele.
Okay, to me, last time we chat for the week, let's talk cricket.
Well, starting off with cricket, yes, Lungi Ngidi says that playing against Australia brings the best out of him. Well, he was the star man today, taking a 5-wicket haul, earning him player of the match honours today as South Africa clinched their second ODI against Australia by 84 runs to seal an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match series. After electing to bat, the Proteas posted 277 all out in 49 overs, powered by Matthew Brieske 88 and Tristan Stubbs 74. In reply, Australia were bundled out to 193 in 37 overs. It's South Africa's 5th consecutive ODI series win over Australia. In the meantime, Newlands Cricket Ground in Cape Town has been confirmed as the venue for the SA20 Season 4 final. The SA20 playoff stage will begin on the 21st of January and is going to take place across 3 major venues in Durban, Kingsmead, Centurion Supersport Park and Johannesburg Wanderers. Now, tickets will go on sale from the 10th of October. Then in football, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso has reiterated that the club will address the futures of Khuliso Mudau and Lucas Ribeiro when the time is right, as both players remain absent from training. As I reported yesterday, Ribeiro has reportedly approached FIFA in a bid to force a move away from Sundowns, while Mudau is training alone with negotiations over a new contract allegedly ongoing. Now, Cardoso says that the squad is focused on the job at hand and has blocked out the noise surrounding the saga.
Well, I think Mamelodi Sundowns is not making any kind of noise around it, whatever happens. Mamelodi Sundowns is preserving everything that might be happening and keep it inside locker rooms, inside the doors, let's say. The locker room is impossible to be raped. It's impossible to be broken by these kind of things. The locker room is too strong. The values inside the club are too strong so that these kind of events touch whatever. The focus is so strong on becoming better, on working for preparing every match, and the time is so small that the levels of concentration, of course, must be so high that we don't have to relate with what happens around.
Well, the Brazilians host Orlando Pirates in the MTN8 semi-final second leg, and they head into this one 1-1 on aggregate. Meanwhile, Kukuni United coach Eric Tinkler admits that overturning a 2-0 deficit against Stellenbosch FC in their MTN8 semi-final second leg will be a massive challenge. Stellies are trailing 2-0 on aggregate.
Mammoth task ahead of us. Not going to be easy. Watching Stellies again last night against Pirates. They're not an easy team to break down. Defensively, they're quite organised, quite structured, and obviously they're very, very dangerous on the counter-attack. We find ourselves in this situation by giving away 2 silly goals away from home.
Well, there's Premier League action to look forward to today. Chelsea are away to West Ham United and kick-off is at 9 p.m. Meanwhile, Manchester City have been handed a double boost with the return of Rodri and Phil Foden. They're available to face Tottenham this weekend. Here's Manchester City's Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, Rodri and Phil last game, they were out, but for just the reason why lack of training and rhythm, they were not traveling to Palermo, and yeah, the guys was all pre-season doing that, but they were not for 90 minutes against Wolves, but they were ready, and of course they are ready for tomorrow.
And Manchester United have Andre Onana available. But the big question is, are we going to see him in the goalpost this weekend?
Onana is ready to play like last week, so we'll see in the game who is going to be the goalkeeper. Lich is out, Nuz is out, the rest of the guys are fit and ready to play.
Well, you can also look forward to some athletics. Training partners Bayanda Walaza and Gift Liotlela, both guided by coach Thabo Matebedi, are set to face each other tonight in the men's invitational 100-meter race at the Diamond League meeting in Brussels, Belgium. Then in rugby, Springbok woman coach Suez de Bruin has named an experienced side to do the job against Brazil in their Rugby World Cup opener on Sunday. Bahandre Dolph, Maisea Samboya, Ayanda Malinga and Donal Lochner are the only 4 players in the starting lineup who have not played in the global showpiece so far, while Vaina Ubisi and Nombu Mliki are the only players on the bench who are making their debut at the World Cup, with the remainder of the match 23 having already experienced the pressures of the Rugby World Cup. Then just before I say goodbye, my predictions for this weekend, hopefully things go better this time around.
Drum roll in advance. Okay. Go for it.
I'm going to try again. The M10-8 semi-final second leg between Downs and Pirates. Yo, guys, this one is... You know what?
Don't get emotional. You must just predict.
I know.
That's your job.
I
Just
know.
predict.
I try not to be emotional. I'm going with Pirates.
Okay, Pirates.
Man City versus Tottenham. I think it's going to be City. Springboks versus Australia. Springboks. Springbok women versus Brazil.
World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, the World Cup. I'm going to go for the Springbok women.
Okay. That's it. 5. Let's see. Let's talk on Monday.
Let's talk on Monday. With that said,
Amakhosi have a different strategy. They want to collect maximum points in the early days of the season. While reigning champions Masandawana want to sing their happy song, Double Yellow. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch Mzansi's Clash of Giants, Kaizer Chiefs versus Mamelodi Sundowns, this Wednesday, 27 August at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Then on SABC radio stations at 7:30. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Channel your inner warrior woman this August on Expresso as we celebrate and empower women across South Africa. From trailblazing heroines to inspiring entrepreneurs, we spotlight stories of strength, resilience, and change. Join us for powerful panel chats, wisdom, wellness, and bold conversations on equality, GBV, and women's rights. This Women's Month, rise with the women leading our nation forward. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to the numbers for the last day of the week with Jimmy Moyaha. Jimmy, go for it.
Markets are closing out in positive territory today. All eyes are clearly on the Jackson Hole Symposium that kicked off today in the United States. Effectively, this is a gathering that takes place from a U.S. Fed perspective that aims to highlight some important issues that are on the minds of the U.S. Fed. But more importantly, all eyes are on Jerome Powell's speech. We're expected to get an indication of the Fed's policy stance for the near to long-term future as well. Understanding, of course, that that policy stance could potentially change if Fed Chair Jerome Powell is no longer there. But Jackson Hole is the center of focus for this weekend and for this afternoon. On the back of that, the dollar is a little weaker, and off the back of that weakness, the rand has gained a bit of ground against the dollar, but also things like the gold price have moved up and equity markets have moved up as well. If we have a look at the top 40, that's closed up on the day's trade, alongside with all of the other equity markets. As I said, everything from an international perspective was in the green. The Nasdaq was up more than 2% at one stage. The S&P up 1.6%. The DAX in Europe was up about 0.4%, whilst the CAC 40 was up around 0.6%. If we look at the Nikkei in Tokyo, that was up in the green as well. But the biggest gainer in Asian markets would have been the Shanghai index, up about 1.38%. Our own local markets, as I said, had a really good day as well. Financial stocks up more than 2%. Industrials up. Resource counters also pulling their weight through there. They were down, though, not as much. So they didn't pull their weight as much as the other two sectors. They were down about 0.4%. But nevertheless, the all share finishing up on the day almost a 4% to the green. The top 40 have more than 1% in the green as well. If we look at commodity pricing, the oil price is etching closer to that $70 barrel level, $67.80 a barrel. But as I said, gold price, platinum price, palladium pricing, all gaining off the back of that dollar weakness. And a quick look at the rand before we go. 17.45 is what $1 would set you back at the moment. One British pound, 23 rand 62. 1 euro, 20 rand and 45 cents. 1 Australian dollar, 11 rand and 32. Going into next week, we've got a couple of results coming out from South African companies, but by and large, we will be reporting back on the outcomes of Jackson Hole and what that means for things like the interest rate cutting cycle that we're expecting to kick off in September. So going into the weekend, the rand is in positive territory. The all share and other equity markets are doing exceptionally well, and hopefully the momentum continues into the last week of August. Back to you, Ashraf.
All right, perfect. You have a great weekend, and we will connect. I know that. On Monday. Thanks for that, Jimmy.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
And today, being a Friday, it's not just me alone. It's myself and Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, right? Or as many people know as Dr. T, right? Made a huge impression in the medical space, but also in the human rights space, not just in South Africa, but around the world, but as part of the United Nations as well, and significantly so. Now, I asked you earlier on, to reflect on, maybe 2-3 things, local, global, whatever it is that you want to get off your chest. So, what are they?
I think we need more playtime as people, as adults, generally, and encouraging children as well to have spaces where they can just play and be lost in dreaming, envisioning, and in the clouds, in the sky. I think it's so important. We live in such harsh realities that we need to be so intentional about how we recover, how we heal, but also being cognizant that some of us never actually had in sufficient ways just time to sit and just play and be children. So I think I wish that for all of us to just have moments where we can be childlike and just be light.
That's such a good reminder. I'm going to bring up that conversation over supper tonight. Yeah, good point. Go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. And in the world, for me, the ultimate goal now is to ending all forms of imperialist violence. I think we have been consumed so much in the last few years with a polycrisis world where and myself and many people felt very let down by so-called world leaders. And perhaps what I want to say is that the leadership actually is within all of us, and that we must continue to be unreasonably committed to a just and fair world. And it's that unreasonable commitment that really keeps the scales tipped in the right direction. So we must all remain unwavering in solidarity with everyone in the world, especially those who are experiencing actively the horrors of a genocide. And the third one, I think it's about...
Staying on that part, I'm just going to pick up on that phrase, unreasonably committed. Explain how does that play out in practice? It's such a fascinating phrase. We must be unreasonably committed, yeah.
Yeah, it means that even at the face of what seems to be really tough times or conditions that make, our activism really difficult, many of us are being harassed and intimidated in many different ways at many different levels for just saying that human life must be respected and protected regardless of where it is or where it comes from. and sometimes fighting for human rights seems like you are an unreasonable person. And so that's where that phrase for me comes from, that we must be so committed to human rights that even if others think we are unreasonable, we must not be moved. We must be unwavering in that solidarity. And I keep saying this to people, Ashraf, that, you know, as a child who grew up in a Bantustan, apartheid South Africa, someone once fought like hell for me. And I'm fighting like hell for other children everywhere else in the world. And they didn't need to know my name. And I don't need to know those children's names either to know that they are human and they deserve dignity and a life of thriving. And that's where that unreasonableness comes from.
Yeah, I think that's so important. By the way, we've got time for maybe one or two voice notes or calls. If you're up for it, just short, sharp. If you know Dr. T directly, that's even better. 086 000 2032 or WhatsApp 06. No, let me get that right. WhatsApp is 0614 104 107. Right, you still had point number 3. Go for it.
Point number 3 is about a love ethic, and it's something that Che Guevara, Bell Hooks, and Toni Morrison in different ways have imparted on my own political grounding. And, you know, Che Guevara says the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. It is impossible to think of a genuine revolutionary lacking this quality. And Bell Hooks says that without an ethic of love shaping the direction of our political vision and our radical aspirations, we are often seduced into continued allegiance to systems of domination, imperialism, sexism, racism, and classism. And finally, Toni Morrison says, survival is not solely about being whole, but rather about being fearless and behaving beautifully in the face of impossible circumstances, and that good is more complex and more compelling than evil, and that the grandeur of life is in its attempt.
Oh, powerful indeed, right? There's a question that I've got from a listener, and I'm reading out from Intabi saying she, referring to yourself, Dr. T, she earlier referred to her experience of growing up during the time South Africa was going through a transition, and the murder of Chris Hani is a poignant time in her life. With that background, how do you view, this is of course yourself, how do you view people, how do you view the way people experience and respond differently to today's global conflicts? And as a human rights activist, what are your thoughts on the international response to both the genocide against Palestine and the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine? And I thought this was like a chilled Friday afternoon chat. Go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Firstly, I personally am quite sick from bearing witness and chronicling the genocide. As someone who receives some of the first submissions of the atrocities that are currently happening since before October the 7th, my mandate in the UN has been responding to the situation of health in occupied Palestinian territory, all the way even during COVID, when we were, of course, at the time talking about diagnostics and vaccines and treatment, and even before me, in terms of my predecessors in this mandate. So this issue is not new, but what is new is the kind of escalation of violence and the way that it has, of course, replicated itself into other regions outside of Gaza, West Bank, East Jerusalem, Lebanon, and we know also what's happened in Iran. And also not forgetting Congo, not forgetting Sudan, not forgetting Haiti, for example, and mainland Syria. So I've had a lot of conversations with healthcare workers in those settings because for me, they are the ones who are the last to leave. They are the oath takers. And often because of their oath, because they don't participate in evacuation orders, they are then the first to be targeted and harassed. So I've been occupied with trying to support my own colleagues in those different contexts around the world of violence, of genocide, how they can still do the best they can for their communities, but how can the bigger global community do best for them as rights holders who deserve to be protected as well in their duty of care.
So with that in mind, what then are your quick thoughts on this growing narrative that foreign nationals in South Africa must not be given treated via public health care? And then what we had heard yesterday in the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee to say, yes, the Constitution says that they must be treated, emergency patients must be treated, but not non-emergency. What are your thoughts around that?
Our Constitution was written based on human rights as its framework. And if you are using human rights for South Africa's constitution, it's very clear that people who are in South Africa can access healthcare. What we need to talk about as South Africans is the fact that year on year, there's millions, hundreds of millions that are unspent that should be going to strengthening our health system, training healthcare workers, absorbing those who are graduating, who need to be working, and making sure that we have enough commodity supplies and all of the equipment that we need. And so on the one hand, we also know that being a migrant is a vulnerable situation. We know that under human rights, you can't discriminate against someone solely because they are a migrant or a refugee. And because our constitution and the Section 27 and the national acts are themselves based on human rights frameworks, we hold ourselves to that higher standard. We should not then yield because of bad health economics or bad leadership and then blame people who are then queuing for the same panado and for the same,
all right.
basic needs as all of us.
Point well made. We'll pick up some lighter points from you in a moment.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This week on FC Meets, Tisetso and Bandile are joined by journalist and sports broadcasting rising star Mpumi Manyisi. She bears all about her journey through the world of sport journalism and shares insight on retaining integrity and breaking stories. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 this Saturday, 23 August at 6 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus. FC Meets. Football made for community by community. Rechencha Game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
That's quite incredible. We've got about 6-7 minutes to go, Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, on this Friday Fireside Chat. So some quick questions, quick answers, right? Give me names, 1 or 2 books you read that you'd like to recommend.
All About Love, and then my own book, Dr. T, A Guide to Sexual Health and Pleasure.
Okay, you've got that, and the other one you mentioned already. Is there a great quote that you often use, no matter what? You just love using that quote.
It's very naughty, but I always say to my team, even when I am wrong, I am right. But it's often after debate and going through a series of stuff to resolve. And as a team, we come together and we're like, yes, that very thing I said when we started, this is what we're ending. And so, yes, even when I'm wrong, I'm right. Yeah. Just on a lighter note.
Yeah, that's nice. Is there somebody else's quote that you admire? Like just somebody you hear often enough is like, I just love that line.
I'll tell you, love, it's actually my mom. Growing up, she always said, anytime it was public speaking, it was an exam, whatever it was, and she still repeats it now, even when I'm speaking at the UN, as if I'm still that 15-year-old. She always says to me, be bold, be bold. And I actually have a tattoo of it on my arm in Braille, because she used to teach children who are blind and deaf, and so she reads Braille as an able-bodied person. And so I have Be Bold in Braille as well on my arm, and that's very special to me as a quotation every day to remind me.
But also the gesture about it actually being in Braille on your arm. And what a fascinating story. Listen, I need to remember that Be Bold is so important, right? Well, growing up, I mean, who was the hero that you admired growing up?
Oh, definitely my mom and Mama Winnie Mandela. Both of them, like it was a tag team, both in just acumen, class, and style, but just fearless women who were doing really wonderful things at a difficult time.
Okay, and now? Any new person that you look up to, really admire?
Right now it's tough to have, and I'll tell you why it's tough for me, because I've realized how as humans, we always have fractures and faults, and I'm at a space now where I'm really intentional about that level of idolizing and all of that. But I have amazing mentors in my life. But I must say that outside circumstances.
And what
circumstances?
And what do you think South Africa's national purpose ought to be?
We need to be a society that is determined and geared, all of us, to creating conditions of thriving. We've been in survival mode. We've been in a trauma mode for many, many decades. And it's my wish for us that we can see that and change course and use that pain to model and to craft something that can now allow all of us to thrive and just not merely survive.
I'm going to repeat that because I think you say it so well. I often talk about, an end goal of building a champion nation. If that's the case, then the purpose of being a nation of thriving is such an important vehicle to getting there, right? We've got 2.5 minutes to go. What about, give a shout out to a young person, maybe known, maybe unknown, but that you think that you'd like to tell us about, yeah.
So Dr. Sihle Lupindo just finished their PhD in Nebraska since 1880-something. They are the first African in that department to graduate a PhD in sociology, and their focus was on the sexual health of older men in rural South Africa. So very fascinating sociologist, young doctor from Nebraska, but all the way from Eastern Cape in Matatiele.
Okay, wow.
And of course, I'm his mentor, so
right.
I can shine a little.
There we are. Right, you made the point about not idolizing people. I get that. But who would you like to take out to lunch? I mean, somebody you haven't had the chance to do so and you wish you do.
I would love to take Mama Felicia Mabuza out to lunch. Mabuza Sattel. She's a fascinating historian just in terms of culture and celebrity, and also just her life story in general. I find it so fascinating, and I would love to sit with lunch.
Does she know that you'd love to?
She doesn't know I'd love to, but she has spoiled me with some Felicia limited edition sunglasses.
Of course.
They were my first purchase actually, after medical school.
Oh,
and yeah.
Her sunglasses are her hallmark. We know that, right? Just when you think about, your legacy, what would you like to leave us? Well, what would you want people to talk about you in the past tense one day?
That I did my best. And that I did give it what I could give, and I'm happy to go. That I would have no regrets at all, and that I didn't live a balanced life. I want that to be clear. That there was no balance. I thrived in the chaos. I thrived in the absolute uncertainty of life, and that's what gave me the best amount of joy. And of course, my family being the anchor to make all of that work possible, and to hold and create space for me to be who I am has been tremendous.
I'll leave you with this last thing. You got 20 seconds to answer it, then we say goodbye. You have a chance to speak to the president, South Africa's president, and you can ask him one question or make one statement. What is it?
Enough with the commissions. Let's get stuck in. We know what needs to be done. Let's do it.
Enough with the commissions. Be bold. I remember that, and that point about you saying that quote that you made earlier about sort of being happy about being disruptive no matter what. Right? Much appreciated. Great takeout. Thank you for your time and spending time with us here on the National Pass. Being part of this fireside chat has been so inspiring indeed. Come on, be bold. That's the message that Dr. T's mother gave her. She took her advice. Why can't you do the same thing? Here's the news with Greg at 6:00.
Thank you again. Ashraf. Researchers discover rare compounds in Dagga and National Security Probe adopts terms of reference. Good evening. Researchers from Stellenbosch University in the Western Cape have found the first evidence of rare compounds known for their anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties in cannabis leaves, also known as Dagga. The researchers say the discovery may pave the way for the leaves of cannabis plants to no longer be regarded as waste in the commercial cannabis sector.